What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Troll Bro Dude, and since we are done with the summer of LeBron, we are going to be pivoting back to our concepts that we do during the offseason. This is a heavily requested one that has been probably a year and a half, 2 years at this point. We have just not had the time to get around to this, but I'm glad that we waited because it added some more people to the conversation over the last year or two. And we will be drafting the 15 best
porn
role
stars.
From last.
My top.
Yep.
Sorry. Did you? I thought. Did you send me? You sent me something. Oh man, dude, I gotta fucking.
Yeah. Go back to the drawing board, dude.
Oh,
it's all right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just pull up ChatGPT. But Bill Simmons told me that ChatGPT is the best for finding signature moments from best players in the NBA Hall of Famer. So I'm sure if you just go to ChatGPT and you look up best role players since 2011, you'll be able to find the right ones.
Right? Get all these ones right. Yeah.
Will said number one Jamal Murray. No, he made an all-star game. We're not allowing all-stars.
We're not allowed to do all-stars, unfortunately. So I mean that's our big rule, right? Is that anyone who's ever made an all-star game at any point in their career is disqualified from this exercise. No Andrew Wiggins, the all-star that we all know and love. Brook Lopez. Nope, you're out of there. Jamal Murray, unfortunately,
Jamal would have never even been considered a role player, even if he never made an all-star game, or if he was just like, I would have just been like, he's a star that was just in a conference where the guard position was so stacked that he could never make an all-star game. But like, I was gonna say Mike Conley is like the Kyle Lowry, Mike Conley level guys. Obviously, Kyle Lowry made way more all-star games in his career, but that's like, those are the guys that like I tried not to include in this exercise, even if they didn't have like the one all-star game that Mike Conley made, right? So I tried to think, like, I didn't include someone like CJ McCollum in this because even though CJ McCollum's had a really good career, I don't think of him as a role player. I tried to think of guys that are generally speaking third to fifth guys on really good teams, mostly teams that have made, if not multiple runs, like at least one iconic run that would put them on this list and a few other decent runs in their career. So this does eliminate guys like Drew Holiday, who's made 2 all-star games. This doesn't eliminate someone like, it's funny because Iggy and Brook technically had the best role player years of their career when they weren't all-stars, but earlier in their career, when they scored, they had a little bit more scoring volume on the Nets and Sixers. They made an all-star game, which disqualifies them from this competition. So if you really want to split hairs, you probably could include guys like that. But since we want to make this exercise a little bit harder for us, guys like that and other guys that are not include like Fred VanVleet and Norm Powell, who's also kind of in the not really a role player category, but like he scammed one.
I didn't even think about putting him on my list. Like even beyond that. So first pick, I'll be taking Dylan Harper now.
I was gonna say, I tried to a list of guys who I could see making this list in the future. Guys like Cason Wallace, Colin Murray Boyles. I said like
Steph Castle was also on that for me. I left him off, even though he's showed some bona fides last off.
I'd also say VJ Edgecombe, but I'm not like VJ also could become an all-star and just make multiple all-star games. But the point on this is that these are guys that I think are going to be on good playoff teams for a while. And even if they don't like make an all-star game, you'd rather have them than someone like Tyler Hero or Norm Powell, who scammed an all-star game based on like a hot shooting / like high volume scoring season. So I have one other guy that we discussed off the air that is not going to be making the list, that I don't think that a lot of people would be thinking of for this list, because he barely even qualifies, because we were going back to 2011. But the one player that I would say, and actually made an all-star game in 2012, 2013, is Tyson Chandler. He is someone that would be considered a high level, really good role player. I mean, I think he won a defensive player of the year, if I remember correctly.
He did.
Yeah. Was a key player on a championship team, and then happened to make an all-star game a little bit later in his career in his 30s. So he also doesn't count for this. But other than that, I think we've covered everyone. I said no Iggy, no Drew, Tyson Chandler, Fred, Norm, Wiggins, and Lopez were the guys that I eliminated based on that qualification. And then just real quick before we get into it, there were two guys that I feel like I didn't include on my list, and maybe you did, and we can get to that when we get to that. But there were two guys that I felt like players that would have been included on this list if they were on better teams. And that is Thad Young and Herb Jones. Those are the two guys that I'm like, they have never had the big playoff moments, the deep runs like a lot of these other guys have. But I think if they were put onto a better team, they would be included in this exercise. But I didn't get around to putting them on my long list of players.
Can I say something else that I thought I was really excited to take Luol Deng in this exercise. Somehow a two-time All-Star that I
right. Yeah. Oh, I was thinking that he wasn't that good outside of the 15-year window, but no, you're right. He earlier in his career he made 2 All-Star games. Like he made it like very early in his career, if I remember correctly.
It was like right in this window. It was the 2011 to 2012, and then 12-13. He made 2 All-Star games that year. He also got Defensive Player of the Year votes both those years. So
probably would have been deep into his career really good if he didn't have all those injuries too, and could have possibly qualified in the Brook Lopez kind of category where it's like, yeah, he made all-star games, but really where he made his bread and butter is later in his career on like a championship team or something like that.
I was so excited to like pick him. Like that was like a guy I had like all lined up to draft, and I sadly found out that he was a 2-time All-Star. So
do you want to take the first pick in this?
Well, do we want to? So part of the thing as a strategy is, are we drafting teams?
I say we try. Okay, I say we try only because a lot of these drafts, and I do like the fact that Bill and these other podcasts have started to draft teams, because a lot of these drafts just end up becoming like, no pun, like not to make fun of Bill, but like just ChatGPT lists of like, wow, really? That guy was really good. Like it's kind of obvious. So I would like the idea of making a team that makes some sense.
Okay, if that's the plan, then I think I think that's going to impact where I select some of my guys, I would say. Okay. That said, I think there's some talent here. There's some interesting things. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select OG Anunoby first overall. Okay.
I had him first on my list too. Only because the recency of the Knicks championship, the importance of the power forward position and someone who can defend at his level and also have a stretch like he just did in the playoffs. Even if you want to extend it back a little bit further, he also had a really great series against the Sixers in 2024.
He's kind of been doing it for a half decade. Like he didn't play in the Toronto championship run, but he was like good back then.
Yeah, I would say 2022 to now is like when I think of OGs, just because that's the one year the Raptors were really like decent. Like they were like the 6th seed. They lost to the Sixers in the first round, but he proved his value on that team. He doesn't make the playoffs in 23, if I remember correctly, because he was on that like mid to shitty Raptors team. And then 24, he gets back, he has a really good series against the Sixers in 24, gets injured during that run. The one thing that's really holding OG back from reaching all-time role player status is the fact that, like, I'm talking like top of the top in terms of role players, is the fact that he's just always injured. Like he even had an injury during this run and they dodged a bullet by him only missing like 2 games in this whole playoffs. But I mean, he had like a 70 true shooting, averaged 20 points a game. And then defensively was just, if not the best defender in the playoffs, the second best defender behind Victor Wembanyama. Like he was an absolute beast in this run. And I think this was the thing that he needed to put himself at the top of this list. In general, I would have included him in the list, but I think this last run is like the iconic role player run that he needed to get there.
Yeah. What was the true shooting? 80? Like it was
70, I think it was
70. Like I think it ended up being like 76 or something, but like it was 80 at one point, which is just, and that was like, it wasn't 20 shots a game, but it was like 11. Like it was a lot of shots. Like it was kind of crazy. So
he took 11.6 shots per game, shot 56% from the field, 49% from three, which means he shot 62% from two during this run. Averaged 20 points a game and really just as a guy that is in a fairly limited role. Like this is the third to fifth option on offense for the Knicks, and really had his when I think of that finals, I think he had the two, other than Brunson, I think he had the two biggest moments in those finals, like the tip in and then the chase down on Fox where he got him to rush the shot and then basically swung the series.
These weren't Josh Hart shots. Like he was guarded by like real defenders, like at points in time, like, and there was like real offense there. So I just think with the talent like level, like I think he's the guy most primed to be like an all-star. And I just think he brings so much. For a lot of these other guys have like specializations. OG's just kind of good at everything, like pretty much besides like what dribble creation, like, and it's like,
and even then he can be effective in his role in that he can get the ball, make a 2-dribble pull up, or he's going to make an open corner three, or he'll at least be able to get to the basket and cause the defense to rotate. Like he's very good at the specific. He is like if you created a modern role player in a lab, like there really isn't anyone, and you could see why he was so pissed that he didn't get more opportunities like this in Toronto, where he has this balance of being a high impact role player in the playoffs combined with the scoring upside that he showed during this run. And then at times with the Knicks over the last few years. So OG was incredible. The only thing I will say, I found during this exercise, I don't know if you noticed this, because you said to me just before we started, I might draft a big with the first pick.
Yeah.
And to be fair, OG can kind of play the 3, the 4, or the 5. Like you could run a small ball lineup with him and like survive in those minutes, especially if you have more size on the rest of your team. Obviously, we're not going to get the creation needed in a role player draft for someone like him to be fully maximized. But the thing that I noticed is that most best players are bigs and guards, which means that wings and forwards are the key high-level role players that we're going to be selecting mostly throughout this draft, because that's just kind of how the NBA has always functioned, where it's like, it's very rare that you get a Kawhi Leonard as the best player in a championship team. Now, LeBron, you could say, but LeBron is a point guard at the end of the day. Like LeBron is a power forward wing size guy, but he's going to be running your offense and being a key playmaker, organizing everything and functioning in a Magic Johnson type role where he's not like, a traditional wing. So most of the best role players that we'll be drafting here are at least a little bit wingy, I would say. Even the guards have like wing skills.
Well, I don't think that that's I don't think that that's a mistake. I mean, as you just alluded to, like my big takeaway was like, holy shit, there's like not a lot of worthwhile bigs who didn't make an all-star game. So I'm probably going to be drafting some bigs earlier than how good they are, just because like it gets pretty dire pretty quick for like bigs positionally, like if you're doing like a role player draft. So
and that is also speaks to the fact that the big position was just so weak like a decade ago, where it's just even guys that you're like really pulling here, where you're just like, because guys that like, for example, obviously Marc Gasol is another guy that's like way better than, a role player earlier in his career, but like he was a key player on a championship team as a role player, similar to a Brook Lopez. And he made like 4 all-star games or 5 all-star games.
Even like kind of not a generational big, but like a pretty unimpeachably positive big, like Rudy Gobert is at the end of the day a role player. Like,
he's like, just once again, if we took away the all-star qualification, I think Rudy is another guy that would have a argument for 1 here, where it's just like he doesn't win the championship. So like you kind of have to put a little bit of a knock on him compared to some of these other guys that have been key players on championship teams. Yeah. But like Western Conference Finals, you're going to win 50 to 60 games every time he's on your team in the regular season. And once again, as you said, like, he does not create. He's not going to be running any sort of offense. He is strictly a play finisher on offense a rim protector and paint protector on defense, a rebounder, all role player skills, but he maxes out every single part of that basically to make him into the ultimate kind of role player. So yeah, OG is a good first pick. There's a few guys I could pick from here. I think there are better players than this player, but I just think from a positional value perspective, I want to get my power forward situation slotted as well. So I'm going to take Aaron Gordon with the second pick.
That was another guy I was considering. Just that, honestly, but just the injuries are just kind of the difference, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. Aaron Gordon is not the second best role player, and I don't even think OG Anunoby is the best role player from the last, 15 years, even though he has an argument for it now with this last run. But there are 2s and 3s and other, like, you can get guys later in this draft that fill in that role that, like, there's not the reason why OG and Aaron Gordon are the first 2 picks in this draft. We've talked about it time and time again. These guys that can play the 3 and the 4, that have the switching ability on defense, that can score at times. Obviously, both of these guys need superstar level creators in playing within a system in order to be maximized. Earlier in his career, Aaron Gordon, they tried to force him into this. He had a very Andrew Wiggins-esque start to his career, right? Where they're playing him in this role where he's just not going to be able to create shots out of thin air and run your offense and do all of the star things that you want someone like him to do, which is why you took him with the 4th pick in the draft. But he is going to be someone that locks up on defense, that rebounds, that can be a connective playmaker, that's going to cut to the basket when the defense rotates to stop. In Denver, for example, the 2-man game with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And he's also now become this amazing 3-point shooter in a way that is like OG and Aaron Gordon are both OG did it much earlier in his career, so people don't really think of him. But if you go back to where he was as a prospect and a young player, a college player, the fact that he's reached the level of shooter that he is now is incredible. And Aaron Gordon doing this in his 30s, if he can get healthy, that extends his career and his prime and his longevity, just because he's become this knockdown 3-point shooter in the last 2 years. And that was really the thing that was lacking in his game, right? Before this, that was the one thing you could say. It's like, all right, well, he's not going to be able to make the open shots. Well, now we can make the open shots. And yeah, the defense isn't quite as good as it was when they won the championship. And he's not quite as athletic as he was when he was younger. But these best all-time role players always figure out a way, similar to stars, they always figure out a way to kind of adapt and make a new version of themselves to elongate their careers and then have kind of revitalizations, whether it's on another team or it's, in a different window with a team. So I think Aaron Gordon, just the positional value of Aaron Gordon combined with the 23 championship run, combined with the last few years of shooting development, is really, like, these are probably the best 2 players on this list that have never made an all-star game, I think.
Probably.
I was going to say, because, like, even guys that, like, Danny Green, who we'll draft later, and guys like that, like, they're Alex Caruso, those kind of guys, those guys are in a very specific role on their team. And, like, for example, like, Alex Caruso still only plays 20 minutes a game. He's never making an all-star game. Danny Green was always a 5th starter on offense, or a 4th starter at best. And that is why they need to be just a little bit lower in terms of making all-star games. So I think it's realistic that OG could make an all-star game next year. And I think it's realistic that Aaron Gordon, if he can get healthy, could make an all-star game as a wing in a weaker conference for wings and forwards next year, in a similar way to, like, Norm Powell did this past year, and guys have had later in their career, and then they get disqualified for this. So this might be the last time that we can take these guys, which is another part of this. Whereas the other guys on this list, like, I don't really think there are many guys on this list that had an argument to make an all-star game that didn't.
Yeah, well, I might take the next one here, actually.
I think I know who it is.
So this one is a little bit hypothetical because, like, this guy kind of had, like, a default role player career, but he just ended up on, like, some bad teams. And then when he was older, he kind of showed the role player potential a little bit more. I'm going to take Big Nick Batum here.
Okay, I had him not this high on my list, but I almost included him in that category of if he was on better teams, But
yeah,
I do think that because he was key in that Clippers run in 2021, he was really good for the Sixers in the 1 year he played for them. And then combined with the fact that he revitalized his career with the Clippers, but also had the scoring stuff from his days in Portland.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. He was still like he wasn't as much a role player in Portland. He was kind of like a third banana kind of like was like his role in Portland a little bit. Especially, I think he was on the Wes Matthews teams, right? Like, So like, and I think LaMarcus, like, so he and Wes were kind of competing for third, like behind like LaMarcus and Dame, because that was like the LaMarcus Dame team. I think that was before CJ got there, if I'm remembering my like timeline.
It was before CJ was on the team, but CJ didn't break out until year 3.
Okay. Yeah. Like CJ hadn't really broken out. So like he was a little bit less of a role player. Like at that point in time, he was kind of like a third scoring big, but like, I think if like he hadn't like, he kind of had his role player prime snatched away from him by the fact that he just got paid by the Hornets. Like, and I think that he was such a good role player. I think that he's kind of a what if in terms of role players, because I think if he is on better teams, I think he might be the greatest role player of all time. Like,
I was going to say, he is basically a super Thad Young potential.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if he had gotten traded, instead of getting traded to the Hornets, if he got traded to, obviously it's a little bit of a cheat code to say this, but like if he got traded to like the Cavs or the Warriors during this time period, like if he got traded to a legitimately very good, even the Thunder during this time period when they still had, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, like that would. By the way, one of the most underrated all-time bad trades, I think, is the Nick Batum to the Hornets trade. And the only reason people don't bring it up is because the cap space thing, just like basically it ruined Batum's image for 3 seasons when he was with the Hornets.
Yeah.
And then he got 3 or 4 seasons before he got bought out of that contract and then signed with the Clippers. And then, as he said, the Warriors kind of extended his career because they made the small ball thing a lot more vital. And then he became a small ball 4/5 in his days with the Clippers, and then became like a really good role player during that time period. But the trade to the Hornets was Batum for Gerald Henderson and Noah Vonleh, who Noah Vonleh was basically already a bust. Yeah. And I think he was the 2014 draft. So this was after Noah Vonleh's rookie season. And obviously it was, I think the idea from Portland was probably trying to get a second draft guy in Vonleh, where it was like, we need like cost controlled contracts and we're a year away from paying Batum. But then what did they use the cap space on?
Yeah,
because the cap space summer, they had one of the worst ones.
That's what that was going to be exactly my point. Is like, so you didn't pay, you took this trade to get out away from paying Nick Batum, but then you paid fucking Alan Crabb and Evan Turner, like,
and Myers Leonard, if I remember correctly.
They had the worst cap space like summer of all time. I think, like, just in terms of like who they were paying, why and for what. So like, yeah, I mean, I think that if he's there for the CJ run, like maybe CJ doesn't break out, but like with LaMarcus Aldridge not there and them needing more, like if they need less scoring, like if it's CJ and Dame and they need a little like more gelling on that, I think if he stays in Portland, there's a chance he kind of flourishes to like, not to compare apples to oranges, but like Toumani Camara, you know what I'm saying? Like he's one of these like forwards that like that these traditional role player glue guy forwards that we like know and love. And I think he had a lot of potential. He's a great passer. The stats don't necessarily show it, like, because there's like a lot of turnovers and some of the other stuff. But like Nick Batum was a really good passer, and I think
extremely good connective guy. Like, honestly, he played for the Sixers for 1 season, and I was like, oh my god, this is what it's like to have a guy who can get the ball, make a quick decision, and just make the offense flow, hit open shots. Like, I'm genuinely like so upset that we couldn't get Nick Batum earlier, because if we had gotten Nick Batum like 2 to 3 years earlier, I genuinely think the Sixers could have like at least made a finals, because he was that good in the time period that he was with us.
And I think he was just kind of miscast. I think he just scored too much in Portland because they like kind of needed that, but that like wasn't really the type of guy he was. But he was going to do that because you get paid, and then he did get paid, and then he like couldn't be a number 1 option for that Hornets team. And it's like, because I think that was No, that wasn't the backup plan. No, because they then tried to went out to try to get Gordon Hayward to, or no, that was, I think it was the fall through after the Gordon Hayward thing, because remember they signed Gordon Hayward. Utah let him get signed to a offer sheet.
Did they match it?
And they matched it, but it cost them a year of Gordon Hayward because the offer sheet was smaller. Like
it's like 2 years or something.
2 years. So this was kind of like their fall through that they had there. Like, so anyway.
And then they ended up with the wash Gordon Hayward years later. Although he had some fine years with them. I mean, I think that Gordon Hayward's another guy where it was just like he never had the role player arc really, just because it was like Andrew Wiggins realized in like year 7 or whatever it was, but it's the reverse with Hayward, where he had such a good start to his career and it looked like he was going to make multiple All-Star games, and then he just never wanted to buy into the role player role because he was like, I'm a star, why would I do that?
Well, and his ankle exploded. You know,
that's true. Obviously, but he had some decent seasons after the ankle like died. Like he was decent with the Hornets.
He did, but I think that like that was like what really derailed it, because it's like also you're all of a sudden now you're playing behind sophomore year Jaylen Brown and rookie Jason Tatum, you know, and that's just kind of a tough place to, you know, be for some of that. So I'm taking Nick Batum, probably a little controversial, but like I really do think one of our like great role players kind of cut short by circumstance in some ways. So
yeah, I agree. It's really funny that they ended up the Blazers after this just ended up chasing basically the Nick Batum replacement the whole time, because there was rumors they wanted Aaron Gordon and the Magic wouldn't trade him for CJ McCollum, and then there were rumors like they were always after Ben Simmons. They were always trying to get the 3-4 type guy that could play make. Obviously, Batum could make open shots, and those guys couldn't at the time. But they were looking for the Batum replacement after they got rid of Batum, and they always ended up with Mo Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu and all of these guys that should not have been starting on good playoff teams. And then they scammed a Western Conference Finals out of this run. But if they had a guy like Batum, I don't think that it's a question that they would have had a more consistent playoff team every single year.
The Charlotte thing just like killed him, because like you said, like honestly, like even like Houston, like what if he was on like the James Harden like Houston teams, you know, like there's so much potential there, and he just didn't get to realize his role player like destiny early on in his career because he was just miscast and then got paid too much. So, but anyway, I'm sticking by it.
So once again, I don't think the next player is the 4th best player, but I'm going for positional value once again.
Okay.
I'm just going to draft a big now, even though keep in mind, like, I think that there are guys better than him. Like, I think Alex Caruso, who I named earlier, is better than him. I think Derek White is better than this player. I think Danny Green is better than this player. I'm going to take Isaiah Hartenstein.
That was going to be my next pick if you didn't take him. So yeah.
When you look at the list of bigs on here, it gets pretty grim pretty quick. There are guys that are really good regular season players. There are guys that are small ball centers that, you know, you can kind of throw into a role. There are guys that are just pure dirty work guys. Hartenstein has a balance of all of it, where it's like he can protect the rim. He is someone that is going to rebound for you. He's going to set screens on offense. You can run DHOs with him. He can score a little bit. He has that floater game. And honestly, if I do wonder, because I've been thinking about this.
Okay.
If Hartenstein came into the NBA today, I don't think it takes like 5 years for him to become this level. Like, think about how early in his career he was like a two-way guy and like a fringe roster guy. And you have he gets drafted by Houston, nothing happens there. Denver, nothing happens there. Cleveland, nothing happens there. It was his 5th team when he finally popped up. The Clippers, like he like showed something as a backup, and then he really popped with the Knicks, which was his 5th team. With the stats that we have nowadays and the calculator rat brain front offices, I do wonder if nowadays, like, Hartenstein would have been a clear rotation backup by like year 3. In the same way that like Day'Ron Sharpe is. I know it took Neemias Queta a while to get there too. I think he was in year 4 when he started playing real minutes for the Celtics. But like, I think a guy's in that mold. It doesn't take 4 or 5 teams to figure that out. Like, I think that Hartenstein, if he came into the NBA instead of back in 2017 when he came in the NBA, if he came in, or maybe it was 2018, if he came in now, I think that there would have been a front office that would have been like, this guy has something, let's see it through, and they wouldn't have been so quick to move on from him. Like all of those teams really were. And I knew, to be clear, I knew people during that time period that were like, this guy has something, he should be a backup on some team. And he was a free agent for a while. He didn't even get a real contract till his 6th team in the NBA. Like, he was on an MLE deal with one of the all-time fumbles, another one that doesn't get mentioned. The Knicks signed him to a MLE deal. It wasn't their fault that they couldn't hold on to him. I'm talking because they got him on the scam contract, they could only offer him so much. OKC offered more. They couldn't really do anything about it. The team previous to that, they had 2 players. The Clippers had 2 players that they were picking between whether they were going to sign him or not. And it was Isaiah Hartenstein or John Wall. And for the 4th time in the Kawhi Paul George era, they decided to go with the washed veteran. And it really only ever worked out that one time with a much younger Nick Batum, who we just talked about. Most of these guys that were later in their career, did not really have that much of success with the Clippers. John Wall was salary dumped at that deadline, I believe. I think they already moved on. Maybe he spent a year there, but I think he was salary dumped and then waived and then never played again. And Isaiah Hartenstein goes on to be a starter on a playoff team for the Knicks, a really good backup for them. And then now he has been the starter on a championship team. He has been back to the conference finals this past year. And really, one of the few things that OKC was really missing that we kept talking about was just a big you could throw at that had real size at guys like Jokic. And Wemby exposed them a little bit just because he's so nimble compared to the other bigs. But those are the kind of
on Chet than anything else. I think
Hartenstein was pretty bad in that series. The first game of that series, Hartenstein got benched because his offense was just really bad and he was getting targeted on defense. But in general, unless he's playing an Embiid, a Jokic, or a Wemby, I feel pretty good about Hartenstein on pretty much anyone.
Yeah, I think he's protected Chet's reputation pretty well. Because I think there's this idea that Chet is a 5, and he's kind of been protected by them having one of the best. I agree. I think he's probably the best playoff big that's never made an all-star team. And again, part of that is because just with how rough, how easy it is to make an all-star team when you're a big at a certain point, some of that is Joel Embiid will just disappear and free up a spot, there's stuff like that. Anthony Davis will just disappear and free up a spot, so there's been some of these guys, and that just kind of happens with, some of these guys. I mean, I really wanted to pick Robert Williams at some point in this draft, but I couldn't justify it to myself with the amount of, but the highs were high, but
yeah, the injuries combined with he was a key player on 2 really good Celtics teams and then has just not really had the opportunity other than that. But if he had stayed healthy, he definitely would have been somewhere on this.
Well, and I think he might have been getting all-star buzz partly because of the Boston Media Mafia, but also just because it's when you're this good, that's just kind of what happens.
Jared Allen, Jared Allen is another guy we couldn't include in this because he made an all-star game.
But he's pretty definitively a role player, I would say. I think there's no.
He's basically just a better Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and I think Hartenstein. I'm a little upset that you got Hartenstein from me because I think he's definitely the best too because he gives you some playmaking and some other stuff too. That a lot of these other bigs, the big that I'm going to take next is a unitasker and doesn't.
Yeah, 5 in the last 2 years, he's averaged 5 assists per 36.
Yeah,
Hartenstein, which is just kind of unheard of for a superstar big.
He's really good. I think he's no doubt the best big of this kind of era. You go deeper and you get into guys I don't think we're going to draft this guy, but I double checked to make sure that Tiago Splitter never made an all-star game.
No, he barely. I mean, he was
really good for 2 years before the injuries. The championship run, he was kind of unreal.
Did he start for that team?
He did, I think. Or maybe he came off the bench and then started the next year when they lost. It was one or the other. I can't.
No, let's see if he started in the playoffs. He started in the playoffs. Yeah, both years.
Okay, yeah. He was Tiago Splitter was also like, it was different. Like he's kind of an evolved version of Tiago Splitter.
He's only played 22 minutes a game in those 2 years because he started, but then he would. I mean, they could play Duncan at center.
I was gonna say, he had a little guy by the name of Tim Duncan. So they, I don't really put that on there. But anyway, I'll take Clint Capella next just to get another.
Wow, I forgot about him. I had a bunch of Rockets or 2 Rockets guys other than him, and I did not remember Clint Capella. But if you're talking about centers that you need like the positional value, Capella's certainly up there. I don't know how I forgot about him.
He was up there. I was trying to pick between I
have a few guys that
actually
there's one guy I would have taken ahead of it.
I might take that back because I think I don't know. Yeah, no, you know what? Let me take Steven Adams instead, actually.
I had Steven Adams ahead of him. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say I had Steven Adams, and I actually had I'll save this other one for a later pick for me, but Steven Adams,
I was trying to figure out if I had a really hard time with this one where I was trying to like sort through my mind palace and be like, is this recency bias because Steven Adams has been good recently and I've watched Clint Capella be turbo dog ass for 5 years.
Right, he's been washed.
Like, because I think the highs of Clint Capella was like an extremely good player for like 2 or 3 years. I think he probably had higher highs. He also had the benefit of playing with James
Harden and Chris Paul at the same time.
Yes. So
like, if you are Clint Capella, those are the 2, and then Trae Young after that.
Yeah.
So like he played with. Now look, did he probably reach the highest high he possibly could because he played with those guys? Yes, but he was also very good in that role on 3 different conference finals teams, 2 different conference finals teams, 2, I think. I don't think he played on the first one, if I remember correctly. But the Rockets 17-18 and then the Hawks in 21, he was a key player for both of those teams.
It's more fun to have Steven Adams just because shout out to Riffsman. There was an old Riffsman bit where just every time Steven Adams did something cool, he would say Steven Adams has drunk 36 beers. He called him Steven Beers, and he would just say Steven Adams can drink 78 beers. Like the number would just go up throughout the game. Like he would just say Steven Beers has drunk 75, and that was one of my all-time favorite Riffsman nicknames was Steven Beers.
I mean, if Mitchell Robinson isn't the best offensive rebounder of the modern last 10 to 15 years. Yeah, Steven Adams would be number 1, I would say. Like, I think those are the 2, and Adams played starters minutes in a way that Robinson, just because of his health stuff, never could. And also, Adams had a little bit more juice on offense than Mitchell Robinson did, if I remember correctly.
They almost beat the Warriors with him and Enes Kanter in a front court together. Like, think about that. That is such a, like, I mean, I know Russell Westbrook and KD obviously, but that is such a stamping to Steven Adams that you had people. I think Enes Kanter, who signed him? Was it the Knicks signed him after that?
So okay, if I remember correctly, he got traded for Carmelo Anthony, I think.
And then the Jazz.
So hold on. He was on the Jazz, but then he signed one of the Thunder's missteps during this era. And I have wondered if Troy Weaver was part of this because Troy Weaver loved to give bigs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he was a second draft guy. Exactly. And he worked for the front office at the time.
Yeah.
They gave him a big bag. They gave Enes Kanter a big bag, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And then they had to salary dump him for Carmelo Anthony, who then they flipped into with a first round pick for Dennis Schroeder.
You're right,
if I remember correctly.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah,
and then the Dennis Schroeder, Danny Green thing. But the Kanter ended up on the Blazers, but that was later. I can't remember how he ended up on the Blazers, to be honest with you. That was when they made the conference finals run.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've spent way too. No one should ever talk about Enes Kanter in 2026. Like, every time he does some attention-seeking behavior, I'm like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah, dude. We need to like ignore him. Like, I understand people get rage baited too much by like right wing like bullshit, and I understand that you can't like I understand you want to like denounce it, but like at a certain point, you just have to be like, nah. Like,
He's such a grifter, dude.
He's so
He's such a grifter, and he's so annoying. Like everyone knows someone like Enes Kanter that like you grew up with them and they've never been funny, but they think they're the funniest person of all time, and then they're just constantly doing attention-seeking behavior, and people always fall for it over and over again. And like when I see him in the news, I'm like, are we still doing this? Like he's just such a fucking loser. Horrible opinions on everything. Literally a CIA operative. Like,
yeah,
unironically is friends with the CIA.
Yeah, that is not an overstatement. Like, yet read up on Gulen, everyone.
Yeah, no, he is literally friends with John Bolton and the Clintons and members. He was, if I remember correctly, he was dating someone that was like loosely like. There's so much shit in his background where it's just like, this guy is a fucking op. I wish that we could just fucking delete him from existence. He's so fucking annoying.
He's annoying. He's really annoying. I'm gonna take Steven. Last thing on Steven Beers. Also, for my money, maybe the best screener I've seen, like of this time frame. He's unreal.
Certainly up there. Yeah,
one of the best screeners, which I'm really, not to go David Locke on here, but like the screen assists are gonna go crazy with him. Like,
and if you're playing with guys like he was when he was with the Thunder specifically, I know the last few years, like when Memphis with Ja, like I know the last few years he's been known more for the rebounding, but the screen setting for Ja and Russ and KD and those guys was extremely important earlier in their careers and really opened up a ton for them. So I think that like and the fact that, like you said, like he's now gotten a little bit of a boost because he just has these crazy on-offs, and he lived long enough to get through the small ball era where like sometimes he would get played off the court in the playoffs, and then he just stuck around long enough that he could still have this great like late career kind of revitalization in a way that like someone like Nick Batum did too, where he just becomes more appreciated as his career goes on as a player. So I do think that the fact that he's been doing it for like a decade has to matter. And like was on a conference finals team with the Thunder, revitalized the Grizzlies, kind of revitalized the Rockets too. Like he's more of a regular season guy than like a deep playoff guy, I think. But I do think that that's important when you're building out your roster here, and there's just a lack of really good bigs. So I'm just going to go.
I just want you to guess his age real quick before you move on.
So I know his age because he was 18 on draft. 32.
Yeah, he's just turned 33. Like just turned 33. Like
okay, yeah, I was going to say he's always someone that is younger for years. I felt like he finally caught up to his age is what I'm trying to say here. Yeah. Where every time I would look up him or Drummond, I would be like, wow, they're still so young. And now I look up their age and I'm like, all right, that feels about right now.
I mean, that's still insane because like he's been in the league. Like he was like a massive part of like Steph Curry, KD like fights, and then that's an NBA generation ago now. Like whether we like it or not, I mean, it makes me feel old, but like those guys are exiting the league soon. Like
by the way, quick sidebar.
Russ retired anyway. So
I was preparing my period that we're going to do later, the top 100 that we do in the off season.
Yeah.
How many of those guys do you think I still had in my top 25? I have all of those guys. But I think James Harden still has an argument for it. I think Harden is like right up there. I think LeBron is still on there. Yeah. I think KD's still on there. I think Steph's still on there. Yep. It's the longevity of this generation is, I know it's been stated time and time again. I'm not breaking any fucking news here, but the longevity of this generation is crazy. Like, I mean, like Steph at least had the weird start to his career where he didn't put a ton of miles on him like these other guys did. But like LeBron, it's been said time and time again. I think KD is another guy. Harden is another guy where it's just like the longevity of these guys outside of LeBron and Chris Paul. We've never quite seen this. You'd have to go back to like Kareem to get someone who's had that. And most of those guys were playing during a time period where you had to go to college for multiple years. So you weren't racking up quite as many games and minutes on your body as you were if you went to the NBA.
I mean, it seems like it's still kind of like happening though. Like bigs are kind of in and out, but guys like,
Yeah.
I know Jimmy just hurt himself, but like, we'll see what he looks like when he comes back. But I think Jimmy could like keep playing for, if he even looks a little bit like himself, like he was a role player, he can go back to that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different NBA from, 2012 or whenever he was doing that. But like, I don't know.
No, he was doing that in like 2014. I think.
Yeah.
He was 2011 draft. Like, yeah. Once again, you're right. It is a different NBA, but the most of the best players of all time can kind of function in and out of role, and I do think that his lack of shooting might make it a little bit hard. Like, I could see Paul George playing until he's 40 just because of the shooting. I do wonder with Jimmy where it's like, if you can't shoot at all and you need the ball, if you lose a little bit more athleticism, because he was already starting to lose the athleticism because of the knee stuff, I do wonder. But if there's anyone that can do it, it probably is someone who is not, a LeBron James level guy, but a similar play style, a few levels down in terms of like talent and ability. But I could definitely see Jimmy having at least one more effective season in the NBA. And I do wonder, like, can he? I've thought of these older guys. Almost all of them are really good at shooting that extend their careers. Like, LeBron had to become a better shooter, obviously, but like Steph's an all-time shooter, KD's an all-time shooter, Chris Paul's an all-time shooter, Harden's an all-time shooter, Dame is another guy. Like, that's obviously, he was already trending downward, and like before the injury, then he tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
But if he can make I think he can make a few extra years here out of this run in Portland if he just becomes. I don't really know if he can change his game, but we'll see. That's one that I'm very interested to see, and they did not do him any favors by trading for Ja Morant, in my opinion. No. If I was going to try to make that work, I would have gone the exact opposite direction and been like, hey, let's get defensive guys that's going to, like make up for the fact that Dame might be one of the worst defenders in the NBA now. And instead they traded for Ja Morant. That team's going to be a fucking mess. So you took Steven Adams last.
I did.
So I'm just going to go away from positional value, and there are two players I'm considering here.
Okay.
One Derek White, one Danny Green.
Okay.
I'll take Danny Green. I think Derek White is probably a little bit harder to find just because of the uniqueness of his game in that the rim protecting as a guard is extremely valuable. And it's really funny that the last two guys we've taken, Isaiah Hartenstein and Steven Adams, I would say also fit into like a little bit of the playoff dropper category. And I think that White's playoff value is entirely tied to his shooting and his ability to make open shots. We've seen it carry the Celtics and be a huge part of their winning teams. We've also seen series like he just had where he was, in my opinion, the worst player in the series.
It's not a question.
I saw a tweet that I thought that you might have even seen it, but it was just like, this is how I know at the end of the day, Derek White doesn't matter as much as everyone says he does, because if this was any other player, it would be attached to him for the rest of his career. And this is why he ultimately is a very good role player at the end of the day instead of a superstar.
Yeah, why the All-Star stuff was like driving me fucking insane. Like, I understand like Derek White, but this is why like calculator rats like do need to like slow down, because they would tell you that this is like the 15th best player in the NBA, and that's just not true. I'm sorry. That's like just not true in any way, shape, or form. Like, he's not Draymond Green. There's one Draymond Green and maybe a second one now that we have Colin Murray Boyles, but like that's there's not these guys. So I think it's a fine way. And I like that you're taking Danny Green here, because he is like the definition that he was the guy I thought of when you said this idea.
I have him on the image because I was just like, this is, so once again, every other player we've taken has, except for Steven Adams, probably has more creation juice, where it's just like you can give him the ball occasionally. Danny really only had one season where that was the case. It was the 1 year with the Lakers where like they asked him to do a little bit more off the dribble. He had a little bit with the Sixers, but that was only because it was the COVID year. And during the COVID year, he had this, like basically there was like a stretch where like a bunch of guys were out. There was a game, their famous game where the Sixers had 9 players on the whole roster, I think, maybe 8 players available, against the Nuggets. It was Maxi's first like really big game. His rookie season, he dropped like 38 points as a rookie. And Danny Green was our starting point guard in that game because we just had no one else that could even bring the ball up. Like it was Maxi and him, and then Isaiah Joe off the bench. And he never was asked to create. He was always someone that was the corner shooter, the above the break guy, the connective passer, just very, very good at relocating, understanding spacing in the modern era, knowing his role to a T, and just kind of understanding his role, getting out of the way for stars, but then also being complimentary as hell on the defensive end as well, where he was one of the best transition defenders in the history of the NBA. He was an extremely good nail and help defender, and had a finals where if the Ray Allen shot doesn't happen, if I remember correctly, it was either that or the next year. I can't remember. I always get those two finals confused, but he had a case for finals MVP one year. In a way that you very rarely ever see from role players. I would say if it weren't for Jalen Brunson going nuts in the last 2 games, OG Anunoby might have had that case. Obviously, Andre Iguodala is the all-time kind of probably shouldn't have won finals MVP as a role player, but did.
Iguodala.
That is ultimately something that we will never see again. I think people just understand the importance of stars more now than they did. Like it's not, and also there was still this resistance to Steph and the Warriors during that time period where it was just like, yeah, he's not that good. And it's like, but he was. Like, it was like, like, was he the best player in that finals? No, LeBron probably was, but he also was on the team that won in 6 games, and his stats are pretty good. Like, he had like 2 bad games in the series. He should have won finals MVP. Danny Green did not win it. It was the Kawhi Leonard year, if I remember correctly. Yeah. I think Kawhi won it during that. But Danny, up until that point, it was literally the year later that Steph Curry broke his record for the most made threes in a finals. The year he did not win finals MVP, but Steph put up so many threes and made so many threes that he broke it the first year, I'm pretty sure. But Danny had the record for the most threes made per game, I think, maybe in the finals, or maybe it was, I'm confusing through, it might have been the year before when they went 7. But either way, Danny Green, all-time role player, probably the most role player of everyone that we've mentioned, as you said, where it's just like, even Isaiah Hartenstein, like he's gonna have the ball sometimes. Danny was purely a play finisher and connector, and then a ultimate glue guy on defense. 4 championships in his career with 3 different teams. Yeah. No, it must have been 3 championships because I always forget they lost on the Ray Allen shot. He only won 1 championship with the Spurs, because he was not on the mid 2000s teams. He was the 2009 draft, so he won. But they another thing that I am sure people do not forget it because, but it is kind of crazy that like just after they win that championship, they have another team that wins 60 something games. And if it weren't for the 2015-2016 Warriors, they won 67 games, if I remember correctly. I think they had a better net rating than the Warriors did during their 70-win season. And that is another great team that he's a part of. He was just a part of like great teams for like almost 10 years. Once again, the most role player of all of them.
Yeah, he was, I think the next year, let me go through the run of, 15-16, they won 67 games.
Yeah. So this was after they lost in the finals, won the finals, and then they had a little bit of a down year compared to you said the 15-16 season, right?
Yeah, they were that the year after they won was they were 55-27, and that's when they lost in the first round to the Clippers, the greatest
terrible year.
Yeah.
55 wins. Sucks.
Yeah, terrible. They were 3rd in their division, which is very funny with the 55 wins. And then 67-15, they lose to the Thunder. This was kind of the Thunder's coming out party.
Yeah, I remember that.
This one was that they beat the
young Thunder.
Yeah,
Well, no, the Thunder had already made the finals.
Oh, I guess that's true. But like this was like
that was their biggest win by far. If I remember
but this
correctly.
was the first time they did that kind of post Harden though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 61-21 in 16-17, and they lose in 4 to the Warriors. Is that the
that's the Zaza.
Was that Zaza?
Yes,
Because then the next year they lose in round 1 to the Warriors 1-4, and I can't remember which one was the Zaza game.
I think it was the year that they were. Oh no, you're right. It was the Kevin Durant year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were both Kevin Durant years. It was 16-17. It was the 17 playoffs and the 18 playoffs. So they were 7.
Wait, really?
Yeah. They were the 7th. They were much worse than 17.
Well, then it was the first year because Kawhi barely played that second year.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Kawhi, remember that Kawhi and the Spurs fell out during that year and then he got traded?
Oh yeah. This was a LaMarcus Aldridge Spurs team. Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
I think Pau Gasol might have been on that team too, if I remember correctly.
He might have been. Speaking of guys who got robbed of their finals MVPs, 2010. Go look it up. Anyway.
Sam taking time to do an aside because the bubble thing has been smushed to throw some water on a Kobe Bryant finals MVP to get Lakers fans mad.
Dude. He's so bad, dude. He was so bad in that finals. Like, I'm still mad we lost. If Perkins doesn't tear his ACL, dude, like, anyway.
I guess Perkins would be out of this time period. I was thinking about the long list, but he would have been like a backup big in this exercise.
That was like the last time he was good, and good is pretty like I think now understanding
good when he's playing with 4 other All-Stars.
Yeah, I think now understanding what we know now, I don't think history is going to be very kind to Kendrick Perkins. He's not someone that I was like watching and being like, no, you don't understand the impact he has on the game. That was not what I would not go to the bat for Kendrick Perkins on that one.
Well, luckily he's made a great name for himself as a media personality.
So true. I mean, shout out to Danny. I go through that whole Spurs aside because Danny Green was something special, man. Like, very important.
Yeah.
Do you get traded for Al Horford? Am I remembering that correctly?
Technically it was the Al Horford, Danny Green, the Sixers sent the first round pick to get off the Horford contract, which came back to bite them because he got traded to the Celtics. Although I think you guys, if I remember correctly, I think you guys won the championship after that contract was over. It was, I think he was already on the next deal.
Yeah.
I told the story 100 times. My favorite Danny Green thing is the fact that he was part of every season of his career. They're basically winning 50 games once he's part of a team.
Yeah.
So many conference finals, so many finals, 3 titles, gets to the Sixers, still is good. His first year with the Sixers, Danny Green was still good. Like we were the 1 seed, keep in mind. Danny Green was the 4th best player on a 1 seed. That's in 2021. We were a really good regular season team. He gets hurt in the second round of the playoffs. We lose the Hawk series because our wing depth is just fucking dog shit after that. Combined with a number of different factors. But I do just want to remind people that like Danny Green was, even on the Sixers, like obviously it has the most Sixers thing of all time happen to him by getting hurt both years in the playoffs. We lose instantly when he does. But Danny Green being as good as he was into his mid-30s, and really, like, if he doesn't get hurt, we probably win that Hawk series, and then we have a chance to make the finals because Giannis did get hurt in the conference finals. Now, butterfly effect, maybe he doesn't get hurt in the conference finals, but it would be very funny if Danny Green, once again, 4th best player, 3rd best player on a team that makes a finals run in his mid-30s. Just once again, I think at one point he had the highest winning percentage of any player in the NBA, like throughout his career until later in his career. He still is up there probably with the all-time great role players and all-time great players, like the Robert Ory's and stuff like that. But I would say he's probably this generation's Robert Ory.
Definitely. No, I was going to make that comp, to be totally
Yeah.
honest. I had that same thought, like,
Yeah.
right down to the Spurs, Spurs greats and Lakers, Spurs and Lakers great, right? Like,
Yeah. Never played for the Rockets, but he played
Yeah.
for the Spurs and the Lakers where Ori won most of his championships. So, all right. You're up next. Your team so far, just a reminder, is Steven Adams, Nick Batum, and OG Anunoby. So you have the 3-4-5 covered.
Yeah, I was gonna say I need a guard here. So I'm there's three different ways that I could go here. Two are pretty similar. I'm leaning Derek White.
I thought you miss a real opportunity here to be like one of the great guards in Celtics history.
Yeah.
You know, someone who's always been underrated by people that don't really understand basketball, and then you could lead into the Marcus Smart pick.
I would have. I mean, that would have been great. I don't think Smart. The problem is like Smart was like injured, and like the stats just aren't gonna cover up. And the problem. I don't want to say the problem with Marcus Smart. He's not gonna function very well on these teams that we're building because the Marcus Smart's strength is that he's like a secret four. Like he's actually not going to be very good on these teams that have like Aaron Gordon and OG Anunoby because like that's kind of what Marcus Smart does anyway, but just smaller, you know, like he does a lot of the same stuff. So I actually didn't even have him on my long list, to be totally honest, just because he doesn't fit in, or not my short list. I mean, guys that I like realistically was going to pick. I obviously listed him, but like I didn't know. I would never think he was going to pick it. So this one it was down to Derek White and then Alex Caruso. I was having a really hard time. I'm having a really hard time picking between them. Alex Caruso really changed what I thought of him. Like he was obviously really good and their third best player last year on the championship team. He was kind of satanic a little bit like this. But like he kind of single-handedly willed them through some games where everybody else was dog shit.
He's a one-man Miami Heat.
Look, kind of like, and like there's a little bit of like X factor with Caruso where like he's got that like extra bit of dog where it was like, fuck, dude, if this guy was on my team, I would love him so much. Like, I think I have to go with Derek White though, just because of like the stats and some of the other things that I think he gels pretty well with like the rest of the squad that I have right here.
You need the creation bit too, where it's just like White is flawed as a creator, but he is going to be by far the best playmaker you have on your team.
Sure, I have some plans for our creation a little later on, though. To be totally honest, there's a guy I'm pretty sure
plans.
I was gonna say I've got some plans. I'm pretty sure you're not gonna pick this guy next, so then I can take him with my next pick.
All right.
And I'm really excited for that. But yes, he's a good second. Used to be a good secondary creator, and we can pick any Derek White. He obviously lost that when he was concussed in the EPM wars of the last 2 years. Now he's a dog shit creator. But like he used to be like pretty good at this. So he's
EPM wars.
He's like he is the most feast or famine shooter of all time. Like we pretty much won the 2024 title because he was shooting like 45% from three or whatever that was, and then other playoffs he's just like, nope, I'm dog shit. We lost the 2022 finals because one of my favorite stats, somehow shot 49% true shooting that playoffs, which is just
he's been very boomer bust.
It's a very insane thing, but he has the capability again, and is probably one of the best shot blocking guards of all time. And there's so much defensive versatility. You properly credited Danny Green as being one of the greatest transition defenders of all time. And I think he's really good at that. Derek White has some of that. He's no Danny Green, but he's got a little bit of that too. So I'm going to, so I'll go with Derek White as kind of a safe, smart pick at this point in the draft. But I'll get a little cheekier later on.
Okay. I'll take Alex Caruso if you're going to take White then, because I had someone in mind to kind of make up some of the creation gap, but we're just going to go all defense on my team. I mean, I do think that White, of all of the guys that we've taken so far, even with the streakiness with the shooting and the scoring, is the best creator that we've taken so far. That is going to be able to set up your offense. When he's on, he'll be able to make pull-up threes. He's not going to turn the ball over. And it's really hard to find that in role players. Like most of the role player type guys that you are taking, are going to be spot up shooters, are going to be offensive rebounders, are going to be someone that you can trust with the ball in small spurts. Derek White is the only true table setter of anyone in this group, I think, because everyone else we've taken so far is just a like corner guy or a defensive guy or whatever. So like, I do think that
you kind of make the case that Hartenstein's the second best
up
till this point.
It would probably go Derek White, Hartenstein, Aaron, or Nick Batum or Aaron Gordon third, and then like once again, OG can create for himself. You're not going to trust him to create for literally anyone else in a way that I do think that these guys have a little bit of ability to do that just because of their connective playmaking. But all right, so I'll take Alex Caruso next. I mean, Caruso, one of the 2 fumbles from 2 really stupid front offices with this guy, where the Lakers letting him walk basically ended up being kind of the best thing that ever happened for Alex Caruso's career, because at first I think a lot of people thought that he was, and I honestly, even I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, yeah, he's a really good defender, but he's got the Lakers bump, prestige zone, white guy, whatever.
Yeah.
Like during the time, I was like, all right, he's good. He plays 20 minutes a game. Let's pump the fucking brakes, okay? And then in 2021, he was like actually really good for that team when they had like a ton of injuries. And I was like, all right, maybe he's better than I thought. Then he went to the Bulls and just became a much better shooter and is an all-time possession battle guy. He's an all-time point of attack guy. He has some of the best hands of any player I've ever seen in the history of the NBA. It just seems like he always knows where the ball's going to go, and he has magnets with his hands. He is definitely someone that I mean, I was screaming for him when he was on the Bulls for the Sixers to trade the picks that they got in the James Harden trade for him. And Daryl Morey, I don't know why I expected Daryl Morey to do his job. Quick little aside, by the way, I don't even think you saw this. There was a clip going around of Tyrese Halliburton where he was on Kenny Beecham's podcast, Numbers on the Board, and he was talking about with them how when he got traded to, first off, he said, the Kings told me after my rookie year, buy a house, you're going to be here a while. So he bought a house in Sacramento and was like, I'm going to be here for my career. I really bought into it. And then they basically instantly tried to trade him right after this. And then they ended up trading him for Sabonis at the deadline. Another all-time fucking fumble.
I can't, but them telling him to buy a house is fucking insane. That's so
fucking stupid. And also like, if you have any sense that you want to split up the Fox Halliburton pairing, why would you even say anything about that? Because if you know, do you remember what their logic was during this time period where it was like, well, we're not going to get a lot for De'Aaron Fox, so we should trade Halliburton instead of being like, let's just dump Fox and get whatever we can back and try to go long-term rebuild around Halliburton, which should have been the thing that they did. And they decided not to do that. So this is why I brought this up. Okay, ready? Okay. 2022, the Ben Simmons fiasco is happening. The saga.
Yeah.
So there was always rumors during that time period that the Sixers could have traded Ben Simmons for a package around Halliburton and some other stuff. And I remember being all the fans who cope and they're like, no, we could have never got him. I'm like, Daryl Morey could have absolutely got him if he wanted to. And I remember at the time having Kings people on and kind of talking myself into it and being like, Maxey and Halliburton, we'll see. Like if that pairing doesn't work, we can split it up. Like, I think this might be the move. And I talked myself into it until the Harden thing came around. And then I was like, all right, well, at least you're maximizing Joel's prime, blah, blah, blah. Halliburton said during that time period, they played a game in Philly, and I always talked about this game. Halliburton had one of the greatest finishes to a game I've ever seen. They were down like 8 with like a minute left, and he just made every single shot he took and was picking apart our defense with passes. And I was like, okay, this guy's way better than I ever thought he was. Like, I thought he was just going to be like a really good role player. Like, he's so much better than I thought. Like, the Kings would be insane to trade him. They would never trade a player this good. And then like a week later, they traded him. But he said after that game, Joel Embiid came up to him and was like, what are we doing? Like, he was like, Joel comes up to me and he's like, all right, I just watched you basically destroy us for a whole quarter. You're 20 years old and we have Ben Simmons. We're trying to trade him. Like, tell your agent you want to come here. And he's like, I'm a second year guy. I don't want to like Russell Eddie Feathers and the whatever. And so he tells him that, and then a week later he gets traded to the Pacers. He thought he got traded to the Sixers because of that conversation with Joel, and George Niang was his best friend who was on the Sixers at the time. And then he found out he got traded to the Pacers. And I was like, cool. So Joel Embiid was a better fucking general manager than Daryl Morey. Anyway, I just had to get that.
I'm not surprised by that. Joel knows ball. Joel could be a great GM when when it's all over.
I mean, what I was going to say was that I don't want Joel being a GM only because I think that he deserves the ability to go have a private life after this.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
after the years, Ruffle, shut up, whatever. I talk a lot. I'm going to say some words wrong. Sorry.
Yeah.
But so the point that I was getting at with this, another all-time fumble, Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso then gets traded for Giddey. At the time, we were saying, what a stupid trade. I don't care that Josh Giddey puts up empty stats. Alex Caruso is 100 times better than him at basketball.
You can't trade a guy that good, and then all of a sudden, the Google search results for a FIBA file are like spiking in your search. Like you can't. Like on top of everything else, on top of like losing, you can't have like all of a sudden Google searches like explaining the differences.
That bit is coming up from that stand-up comic.
Yeah.
I always forget that guy's name. I always call him John Marco, but it's like Gianmarco or something.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
No, but that
I actually forgot he did that bit too. I've been sitting on that for 10 minutes because I had to Google how to pronounce it. I have that on my Google search history. Like,
don't worry, dude. The government would never extend their overreach and use anything technologically against you in 2026.
Your Sauron Palantir software has flagged this. Stand down, communist. You will be shot.
Anyway, more flock cameras everywhere, please.
Please. No, we're not going to stalk our girlfriend. Why would you think that? Why would you think we're going to stalk our ex-girlfriends? We're the cops. We wouldn't do that. Why would we do that?
God. We live in hell.
Yeah,
we live in a fucking 80s dystopian sci-fi movie / novel.
It's so bad, man. It's so bad. I can't even remember what.
It is kind of crazy that it's like they've been saying for 40 years this was going to happen. Honestly, it goes back further than that. That's like a light estimation. But everyone
sci-fi, and it's like 60 years old, and they're just like completely correct on every level. You read Neuromancer. Neuromancer was, I think, written in like the 70s or something like that.
Yeah,
like, capitalism is going to create this like tech dystopia. And like people in the 90s were like, this is so funny that they had such a dark outlook. It's like, wait for it. Wait.
I was gonna say the Matrix comes out and they're like, wouldn't this be insane? This is so negative. How could you be so negative about the outlook of the world? Anyway, anywho,
it's fine.
By the way, speaking of another random thing. If you have not watched Rory Scovel's new stand-up special on Netflix, highly recommend that. Some very good bits about Elon Musk in there that you will. I know, Sam. If you haven't watched it, you'll love it. It's so fucking
I
funny.
love Rory.
He's so fucking good. He's the only working comic I still watch every special of.
I always like forget that I like him, so I like never. Like he never jumps to mind when we're like talking about comics, but if somebody brings him up, I'm like, every time I watch him, he's funny. Like
he's been my number one for the last decade. Like I watched, there's a special he had. So the Netflix specials are good. The HBO special that he had a few years ago was good. This one is his best one yet, in my opinion. Like it is so fucking funny. But you know how like you have your band, like your favorite band or your favorite musician has like a project that's like early in their career that like no one ever really talks about. There's a special he had in 2016 called the Charleston Special that I have a digital download of on my. I have an old computer only because I have it on that computer, and it's the only place I could technically get it downloaded anywhere because he sold it like video on demand.
Yeah.
on this web. Basically, he sold it to CISO, which was Peacock before
Oh my
Peacock.
God, I forgot.
I was part of I work for a place that was helping them launch like the original version of CISO, and we were doing like email campaigns for them. And I remember at the time being like, hey, no one's gonna use this because no one knows that NBC is associated with it. Like I was like, I would never sign up for this because it has no connection. And then a few years later, they come out with Peacock and everyone signs up for it because they have better stuff. And also it's associated with NBC and Universal, which is like a brand.
Yeah.
And so he sold it to CISO. So no one watched the special, but they gave him the ability to sell it on his own as well. So I bought it for $5. And it's basically like the equivalent of like your favorite band's like early EP that like only like a few thousand people have heard. It's very like he improvs half of it. He's just going off the rails doing bits. He's like on the floor for half of it. And he's just the reason why Rory is one of my favorite comics is that it's very rare that you get the combination of good joke writing, amazing stage presence, and just a naturally very funny person.
Yeah.
And that can improv and riff and do things that you never like. To me, he's a one-of-one comic nowadays because I do think that stand-up comedy has just really gotten watered down, and the TikTokification of everything has made it so that people don't want to make hour-long specials with good jokes. And the long and short of it that I'm trying to get at here is that he is just like the one of the only comics left still doing unique stuff, but also just being very naturally funny. And then this special has more like, I would say, universal appeal than some of his earlier stuff where he's doing bits on everything. And he crushes for a whole hour, and there's a really, really funny closer that's like pretty emotional, but it was really good. So yeah, no, go for it.
This makes me think of, I know we were talking about like Bo Burnham the other day. I had a brain blast after we logged off that I think the reason I don't, it's not even that I don't like Bo Burnham. I like Bo Burnham fine, but I'm just less than most other people, is because
a lot of people hate Bo Burnham though. I feel like a minority in the fact that I love Bo Burnham.
He's like, I think he's like more powerful with like, I don't think Gen Z, but like young millennials. Like,
yeah, that probably adds up. Yeah,
I think like I was
women,
a little too old.
Like them a lot more than men do. Yeah,
I was gonna say I feel like I've never met a woman who's 2 to 6 years younger than me that does not love Bo Burnham. Like they're usually, that's usually a pretty strong bet to make. But that part of my heart is committed to Demetri Martin, and I'm a soldier.
I like Demetri when I was younger. Yeah. I like Demetri's like early stuff. Like when he was doing Conan, and his first Conan is one of the funniest. Like, and once again, the thing that I appreciate about Demetri and the thing that I love about Bo is that they just don't do things like other people do.
That's
and
what I was gonna say. Yeah,
I find that most comics, 80% of comics are just doing the same thing.
Yes.
And the 20% that are doing other shit aren't funny to me, most of them. Yeah. And the like 2% of comics that are doing something unique and funny, it's just very rare for me. And it's very funny to me that you are not into Bo, because I'm like, well, for podcast purposes, we won't call you tall, but a tall, athletically slender track running man who is very naturally funny and a bit millennial cringe. I'm like, this is literally, you're also from New England. It is Bo.
Yeah, but I failed. He didn't. So fuck him. Yeah. But I'm a failure. So like, what's not to understand here?
I didn't make it, and he did. So
he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was an alcoholic. He wasn't. Like, let's get it together. Don't get it twisted. So you're taking Caruso. Is it?
We got to cover 2 hours here, guys. Come on.
Yeah, we let us cook a little bit.
We waited before you continued. Has the Phoebe album grown on you at all? Because it's funny because Q texted me and I was like, I bet you this album's gonna grow on you, and it has. And I know that you said at first you weren't crazy, and I was like, give it a month.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't listened to it too much, but I've gone back to some of the songs and I like them a little bit more. Some of the other things. The other thing, I always forget that Phoebe's strength too is her lyrics.
Sure.
And I think what my mistake was is I was paying a lot of attention early in the album when it was Bo who was helping out on the lyrics and some of that.
Sure.
So some of the choices pissed me off a little bit and might have like coded me against that. Some of the later stuff is like just as good, you know, like her whole thing is being like very earnest.
When people are, it's very funny that people have been like, how could, I'm like, they are very, that couple makes total sense to me. Like, I don't know a ton about her, but just on the surface, that couple makes a ton of sense. And then Maddie Healy being one of their good friends also makes a ton of sense to me.
I think Phoebe artistic, I mean, Matt Healy makes a lot of sense. Phoebe as a person, it seems to make a lot more sense to me because there does seem to be a little bit of a gap. There's some people who don't like Phoebe, you know what I'm saying? So there is like a little bit of a gap, like, you know, like,
personally or like as a musician?
Personally,
okay,
no.
Gotcha, okay.
She's got a lot of respect, but like most notably, like Snail Mail.
Yeah, I remember that.
Fucking hates her, which is very funny. And you know, there's some things there.
Well, she's younger millennial cringe. So that's by the way, just a real. I am shocked to learn. I know that Julian Baker was the first of Boy Genius.
Yeah,
that popped off. She's always been my favorite. Like I like her music more than I like Lucy's and Phoebe's. I don't dislike their music. It just doesn't do a ton for me.
Sure.
But Julian is the one that I've always kind of glommed onto as of the three. And it's very funny to me that I checked her Spotify and I checked like her numbers and I was like, she's the least popular of them now.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
Those other two have, I had no idea. I didn't know. I knew that Phoebe was the biggest, but I didn't realize that she's now the least popular relative to the other two because she was the first out. So I figured that she would have had a little bit more lasting power.
Phoebe got the Taylor bump. So yeah, she's by far the biggest now, but yeah, it's like growing up. Honestly, I'm getting to the age now where I'm going back. I've been listening a lot to a lot of the old McG albums, and so I've spent all week just being like, "Fuck, McG is good."
I like some of his stuff.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah. Go listen to Julian Baker's first two albums, I think. Maybe three. I can't remember. Which Sprained Ankle is one of the best songs I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't know how that song isn't bigger. That is literally like, that song is so fucking good. And then her album that I listened to last night was, hold on, I'm gonna get the name because I'm very like much like a casual one. Turn Out the Lights, which was her second album, was really, really good. So all right. Alex Caruso, what else is there to say? We talk about him all the time in the podcast. Just a fucking demon. All-time role player. And we're kind of filling out our starting five here. Like your starting five so far is OG Nick Batum, Steven Adams, Derek White. Mine is Aaron Gordon, Isaiah Hartenstein, Danny Green, Alex Caruso. So who do you have next that you're gonna make me go, what? What?
I'm bringing out my demon, the hero of 2010. Bring my dog Jet out. Let's get Jason Terry in the mix and let me get Jet out here. Just because
completely forgot about him.
Yeah, Jet. I think a lot of the guys who are offensive minded, because I still need offensive juice. Pretty much the problem with the role player draft, it's hard getting bigs, it's hard getting offensive juice. And a lot of times you're dealing with guys like Jamal Crawford or like, you know, early Tyler Hero before he made the, you know, you're dealing with like the CJ, you know, like is another.
I was going to say, because if Terry's available, then I might just take CJ with my next pick, even though I think he's more of a fake star than he is.
You could take CJ if you want. I'm taking Jet. I mean, CJ is probably a better player, and I think of CJ as
that was Bill's draft comp, by the way, for CJ McCollum was Jason Terry. Not a bad comp at all. Kind of a very similar career.
Yeah, very similar career. I think CJ got a lot closer to all-star games than Jet ever did. You know, like Jet was only ever getting like 6 Man of the Year awards, never even sniffed like an All NBA or anything like that. Like nobody was
top 3 for 6 Man 5 times and won in 2009.
I think he's more of a complete player than a lot of the other 6 Man of the Year candidates usually are, though. Like, I mean, he's not a defender. He's definitely, that's by far his weakest thing, a small guy defender. Better 3-point shooter than you remember, especially given the era. Like, I think I think he shot the year they won the title. I think he shot 44% in the playoffs, which is like insane from three.
Everything came together for that team.
Yeah. I mean, everything was
44%.
Yeah. And he is just like and I think he gives us some like offensive pop. He's got more creation than you remember. I don't know if the numbers back that up. I don't care. I was there. I watched.
No. You're right. I'm kind of shocked. In his prime in the playoffs, Jason Terry shot. I knew he was a good shooter.
Yeah.
In the prime in his playoffs, he shot 5 threes per game, and he made 42% of them. 42.6%.
I was gonna say, like, I think he's kind of forgotten just because I think it's kind of that it's the thing where like the flashbulb moment is so bright and so famous that you kind of forget that like Jet was like a very good player. Like he was like a little washed on the Celtics, but not really. Like he was still okay for us. Like people remember LeBron killing him with the dunk is like his most famous moment on the Celtics, but he was like okay for us. Was an excellent player his whole career. And I think if you were going to make a case against that, it's that a lot of his good years were like right before the window where we start this. He was still very good for like 3 or 4 years there on some of this stuff. And I think that I didn't count CJ. CJ's probably a better player, but I'm gonna stick with Jet here just because I needed some offense and I thought that he would be a good pick here.
All right, on the back of that, I'll take CJ McCollum. I mean, look, CJ is definitely more of the fake star. I wouldn't even say fake star. Like if he was in the East, he would have made 2 All-Star games. Like if he was not in the Western Conference during the most demonic time period, he would have been in that conversation.
He's a better player than Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, I mean, Fred's probably a little bit easier to fit into a team that has championship aspirations just because he's a better defender.
It's crazy that Fred's an all-star and CJ's not. Like,
yeah, I mean,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I think Fred is if we ever do our weaker all-stars relative to guys that have made all-stars as guards, he's certainly up there. I mean, he's a very inconsistent and flawed offensive player. But the CJ, second best player on a conference finals team, had really like, if you want to talk about I know he's another guy that started a little bit later into his career. Like he was a 4-year college guy. Then he didn't really play all that much his first 2 years. So he has saved a little bit of the mileage, but the last decade, like he's reinvented himself recently. Like he's kind of the same player, but has served a very important role for the Wizards and then on to more so on the Hawks this past year, where he had this 2 games where he was, I mean, he had the best games against the team that won the finals in ease after that.
Yeah. I think he was their most dangerous single player opponent, probably like
game winner in the playoffs. Like, I mean, he's 35 years old now and he's still doing it. 34. But I think Unk still got it. An alt once again, does not turn the ball over, handled the ball, really good creator, didn't create for others a ton. So that's the thing that always kind of you wanted more from him, where it was just like, if he could have a little bit more point guard skills instead of just being a pure shooting guard, 2 guard, where he is really just creating a large amount of his offense for himself. But he's had, like you just talked about Jason Terry having iconic moments in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The game winner I don't know if you remember this, but the game winner that he had against the Nuggets in Game 7, when he won that series for them back in 2019, and you had LeBron tweeting basically fuck analytics. He made long 2s on that, but he was a really good mid-range shooter, really good 3-point shooter. In his prime, shot 38% from 3 in the playoffs. Had he had 5 seasons where he averaged more than 20 points a game, or 6 seasons where he averaged more than 20 points per game in the playoffs. I mean, he is probably the best player that didn't make an all-star team from this era. I think he had the most 20-point seasons ever for a player that didn't make the all-star game. And once again, I do think that if he was in the East when the all-star guards were like Bradley Beal and that level of guy, he probably would have made at least 1 or 2 all-star games. So I think CJ, it's a bit of cheating, but we do need to get our creation somehow. And we just saw if you put a bunch of defensive guys around him and tell him to get a bucket, you could be a pretty good team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that, I mean, that would be really good. You know, I think I wouldn't argue with that. I didn't consider, I'm going to be honest. I just kind of thought CJ had made an all-star team. Like he got backfilled by, I imagined that he got a backfill. I think it was John Morant that happened to, that Adam Silver like appointed him one year, but
that was Mike. Mike Conley was the one where I know that people are going to be like, you always bring this up, but Mike Conley's all-star game is to be clear, Mike Conley deserved to make an all-star game at some point in his career and he didn't. But the way that they did it in 2021 still rubs me the wrong way, where they were just like, you can be an all-star. He was not a replacement. It was literally just like,
so sorry, you go ahead.
They were at the all-star game and they were like, you can come.
That's so funny.
I was like, this is insane. Why? Once again, if he was an injury replacement or like they announced it like a week in advance, days in advance, I'd be like, whatever. Good for Mike Conley. Like he was a part of really good teams and once again deserved to make an all-star game. Is better than a lot of guys that made all-star games. Yeah. And like has like a fringe Hall of Fame career for sure. But the way that he made it is just like Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert made it that year because the Jazz won a ton of games in the regular season. And then the last second they were like, yeah, Mike Conley's here. He's an all-star now. And I was like, what? They just added an extra, like I've never seen anything like that before.
The one that did that to me was it 2018 or 2019? When Dwayne Wade and Dirk were retiring the same year and they just put them in the all-star game. And I was like, it's kind of cool, but like also this like matters for guys. Like
they did that a lot more in the 2000s. Like Allen Iverson got some ones late in his career, but also the fan vote mattered more back then. And Allen Iverson is one of the coolest players of all time, so he's going to get votes until the day that he retires.
Yeah,
like Derrick Rose would have made more all-star games if they weighted the fan voting in the 2010s more.
Yeah,
Derrick Rose was getting top 5 in all-star votes when he was on the Minnesota Timberwolves.
That's so good. I keep forgetting that happened. How did he not make like a weird Andrew Wiggins one? Like, how did that happen with Andrew Wiggins and it didn't happen
for Conley? For
Derrick Rose? Like,
so if I remember correctly, there was one year where he was really high, but the other guys were also guards because it was like Steph and Harden. So he was high, but he was a guard. So like Wiggins was high, but he was a wing and a forward. So just think about how many wings and forwards during that time period would have also been considered for the All-Star game.
Yeah, I guess that's
positional stuff.
Yeah, I guess
that's because he was a start. Wiggins was a starter. Like the fan vote was heavily weighted for the starters, and Rose was just never going to get more votes than Harden and Steph and the guys who made the All-Star game.
Yeah, I guess that's the point.
Dame. Yeah. But
how did he not beat out? Who were the guards in the East early after his injury?
See, that's I do wonder with that one. Maybe they took away the fan voting during that time period, if I remember correctly, like weighting it as much. Because there was a time period in the 2000s where it was heavily weighted, and then there was a time period this decade where it was heavily weighted just for the starters, though, because the coaches got to pick the reserves. But you'll have to look into that because the guards certainly weren't good. I mean, like Jeff Teague made an all-star game during this time period.
Yeah, it was before John Wall and Bradley Beal like really popped off. I
think it was around the same time that they popped off.
Because I'm talking about like 2013. So like,
but
he was year 3.
But Rose wasn't on the Bulls until 2006, or wasn't off the Bulls until 2016, if I remember correctly.
But that's what I'm saying. How did he not make another Bulls, like Mickey Mouse Bulls one? You know, like
he did.
Oh,
he made 5 All-Star games, I think, or 4 All-Star games.
I forgot about. I completely memory hold that. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, hold on. Let me look this up real quick because I'm now curious because he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. No, you're right. He only made 3, and he never made one after the ACL.
That's what I was going to say. So like, I wonder what the All-Star. I'm trying to think of who was like, because it was before Brad Beal and John Wall. Like, I guess Joe Johnson was probably still making like.
It was not before John Wall. There was because John Wall made it probably. John Wall was definitely in the All-Star game during this. It was 2013. Rose didn't have his first full season after the ACL until 2014, 2015.
Oh wow, I didn't realize it was that long.
So he toured in the playoffs. So he missed almost the whole next season.
I remember.
So he played 10 games,
Yep.
and then he played 2 more full seasons for the Bulls, and then they traded him halfway through this 2016-2017 team season, I think.
So is John Wall was Kyle Lowry on the Raptors at this point with DeMar DeRozan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie
would-
Irving. That's another good one.
Also, Bradley Beal was in the conversation at least during this time period. Like it was like year 3, I think he made the All-Star game.
yeah. Okay. So and then it was some of that. Who else? The Bucks.
Once again, Jeff
Bledsoe.
Teague had one during this time period. It was
Eric Bledsoe. I remember one year getting some buzz. He didn't make it, but like
he wasn't on the Bucks until a little bit later. I think that was 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
When he went there. Yeah.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Teague made it in 2015 when the Hawks all made it. And which is just absurd. But
I was gonna say that took Kyle Korver off the box for this exercise. I couldn't have Kyle Korver.
I had him too. I was gonna say he was on my list of he made an All-Star game. I can't include him.
Yeah.
Which by the way, we haven't taken JJ Redick. I totally forgot about JJ Redick.
So I looked at this. He was actually like kind of. I don't know that he was.
He never made a conference finals.
Yeah,
because he was on the Clippers and the Sixers.
I was gonna say the Sixers. The confetti game was kind of the best that season was kind of the best he ever was. That's kind of
yes. From a scoring volume perspective, because Ben Simmons was our second best player, so we needed scorers.
Yeah,
but from they got to Game 7 in the second round when he was on the Clippers for sure. Yeah. They would just always lose. But he was a very good player. I mean, I don't know if he should be part of this because he just never made a conference finals, and it's hard if you're a role player to never be on a great team.
The cutoff you picked was so brutal because it robbed me of so many Orlando Magic greats. I couldn't pick Hedo Turkoglu. I couldn't pick Jameer Nelson. I couldn't.
Jameer made an All-Star game.
Did he make an All-Star game? Oh my God, no! Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, because Jameer was the 03 or 02 draft. Yeah, he made an All-Star game.
Boston Celtics legend, by the way. People forget he was.
He's our GM now.
I forgot about that. That's really funny.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job. Great job, Jameer.
Yeah, got LeBron James. He respected him because they had wars against each other 15 to 20 years ago.
Slight pushback, Jeffrey. It was not the whole 5. Poor DeMarre Carroll did not make it. It was
DeMarre Carroll. I had DeMarre Carroll as if we run out of guys kind of guy.
I had Jay Crowder in that same spot.
I was gonna say, but I don't think we'll get to that. No. So all right. Are you up next or am I up? I took CJ. Yeah, I took CJ.
Oh, you took CJ. Okay, so now we're filling out.
Even though it's cheating.
By
the way, there's one guy we haven't taken that I'm how there are 2 guys that I'm
there's one I'm going to take right now who's definitely I just didn't need him. But this is probably he's probably the modern Danny Green just in terms of right place, right time. Guy. So I'm going to take KCP here.
That's not who I wanted to take. So
okay. Well, then you take this other guy, but I'm going to take KCP.
We just talked about KCP on the last episode.
Yeah, we just talked about we don't need to do this, but again, kind of a different kind of the guard version of Danny Green. Danny Green's kind of more of a wing a little bit with some of this stuff. But just been was very good on the Pistons, which people kind of forget because he's they remember the Nuggets and the other ones, but he was really good for the Pistons too. If you go back and look at it. So
I was gonna say he had the ball a little bit more in that team.
And I really I think he's a great pick here. I'm really happy to have him as a 6-man.
Your first guy off your bench. By the way, Steven in the Discord said he was going to kill you if you didn't take Marcus Smart. So I'm just letting you know your life is in danger.
He doesn't really fit. Maybe we'll see how many picks we go on this. I probably will later on. I really wanted to take Time Lord, but
you can do whatever you want. We're getting to the point where we're not running out of guys because there are still some pretty good players left here.
Guys,
yeah. But I'm going to take someone. I need your attention for this because I thought you were going to say this guy is obviously not quite the level of defender that Danny Green was, but a Danny Green modernized version, in my opinion, and that's Mikal Bridges. I feel
oh fuck, I had him. I didn't write him down. Fuck, I googled him right before we logged on. and then didn't write it down because I was like, fuck, he didn't make an all. Fuck, I blew that.
He never
I
made an
blew
all-star
that.
game.
Yeah.
He was second in defensive player of the year one year, made an all-defense team.
We
Has
should
honestly-
honestly so much higher than this.
So here's the thing. If I were just ranking the best players, he would have went way higher than
I mean,
this.
when we needed creation juice. Like,
Right,
he was
exactly.
like a
And
fine
also-
creator, yeah.
And also like the combination of we were just going wings and forwards like very early in this,
Yeah.
where we were just getting that out of the way a lot of the time, that he kind of slipped my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
But like if you need someone that has a little bit of creation juice, that is going to be able to make open shots, that you can run some offense through, that is going to be in the regular season, he's kind of, we talked about this before, like he's kind of running himself into the ground trying to keep this games played streak going. Because in the regular season, he like doesn't try half the time, it feels like. But in the playoffs, the last 2 years, he's kind of looked like Suns Mikal Bridges, where it's just like, oh, right, he's still really good. It's just that he's running his body into the ground by playing 82 games every year.
Well, and we've also seen him scale up. That's why this is such a boneheaded move on my part. He would
Yeah.
have been awesome on my team because he's one of the only guys in this we've seen scale up. And that's kind of why I literally like 5 seconds before I logged on, I was like, Mikal Bridges surely made one, right? Because I was like looking at all the champions and like I was looking at all the teams that made the finals and like who their best few players were. And I got to Mikal Bridges. I was like, well, surely he made the All-Star game that Nets season, right? And he didn't, like, which
Yep, he didn't make it that year. His real heater with the Nets came at the end of
that's right.
that previous season when he first got traded there. By the way, two. So I said the individual accolades: runner up for defensive player of the year, first team all defense in Phoenix 1 year, 2 finals, 3 conference finals. As I said, the last time he missed a game was that must have been in college, right? Because he played. Yeah, I think he even played 83 games the 1 year because he got traded in the middle of the season. He played an extra game. So in 8 years in the NBA, he's played 638 games. The one thing I will say is that I don't think it's going to matter all that much because the Knicks won the championship. So who gives a fuck, really? But I will say this much. The total minutes played on his career right now, Sam, 21,000 regular season minutes so far in his career.
LeBron
He got
James.
he got drafted in 2018. Don't ask me who drafted him. And then
Which hat was he wearing? Surely he didn't. His mother wasn't involved with any organizations or anything. God, that's such a fumble because like he was like linked, like everyone had him in pen.
I know the week leading up to it, we're all like, oh, they're just going to take Mikal Bridges. What's really funny is that I've said this before, but the fact that the process was such a asset hoarding operation that they fucked up like 7 different things and they're still good now. Like, now look, they never reached championship heights and like maybe they could turn this around in the next 2 years with LeBron on the team and Jaylen Brown and stuff. But like the fact that they were like they stacked so many. They fucked up the Jimmy Butler thing. They fucked up the Mikal Bridges thing. They fucked up the Tobias Harris thing. They fucked up the Ben Simmons thing. They fucked up the Markelle Fultz thing. Like they fucked up every single turn of this except for Maxey, basically. And they have somehow and not trading in Embiid early in his career too.
Yeah.
But yes, so far. And
Homer Simpson, Bart hand on shoulder. Yeah.
So, I'll never put it past them that they can't continue to fuck things up. But the long and short of this that I'm trying to get at is that they are they had so many ways to fuck up and still be decent that it is just crazy that we're still here. I mean, we're 9 years after they first made 8 years after they first made the playoffs, 9 years. And they are going into basically the most successful objectively, even with all of the ability to not make the conference finals and all that shit, objectively the best decade of basketball for the Sixers since the 80s. Like, because the 90s they sucked, and the 2000s, like, we had one really good year, one decent year, and then we were mid or bad for the rest of it. So this is objectively the best, and they fucked up at basically every turn of this. And they still turned out to be decent just because basically just because of Joel Embiid. like
Yeah.
if we're being completely honest, like that's like really the only reason why. And then getting lucky with the Maxey pick has made it longer here. But so yeah, Mikal Bridges is way better than most of the players.
Yeah,
that
that's a fuck up. I'm hand up on that one. Big fuck up on that one. Maybe I might treat myself here.
Do a little treat.
Might do a little treat for myself here, where it's not necessarily the best player on the board, but it's real to me, damn it. And I will be stacking up at the guard position here. I am, of course, those of us who were locked in for the 2025 playoffs. We're watching the Pacers team, and we all knew who the second best player on the team was besides Halliburton.
TJ McConnell.
It wasn't TJ McConnell. It wasn't Pascal Siakam. It was, of course, that's right, the guard, Aaron Nesmith, who I will be selecting right here.
I thought you were going to take Andrew Nembhard.
That's why, that was the joke I was making, is that I thought I would get everyone thinking I was going to take Nembhard. Again, like Caruso, he was the demon that off. There was some satanic things going on with Aaron Nesmith. And if I watch you have a playoff run like that, where you're just like, some of the stuff Aaron Nesmith did, like in like 3 straight, like is genuinely has made me like re-examine like my spirituality and like whether or not that there is some sort of higher power at some point in time, because some of those games, some of those Aaron Nesmith games were crazy. And I think at a certain point, it's just, you're about it, man. Like you're just kind of about it, you know, like, and he is one of those guys who is 100% about it. And I want him on my team when I'm in the playoffs.
Okay, so I still think that I need a little bit more from him to put him on this list, only because every other guy we've had here has been good for like at least multiple playoff runs. Nesmith, I need. Can I see it? Can I see it a little bit more? Just a little bit more.
I don't need to see it.
I know Nesmith's a really good defender, and I know he's a good shooter, good athlete, and maybe the Pacers are awesome again this year. But I would like to see it for a little bit longer before I put him on the best role players of the last 15 years list.
Okay.
So I mean, he's still what, 27? He's not that old. 27, maybe 28.
Yeah.
He was the 2020 draft. I think he was 20, so he might be 26 or 27. So he's got time. But I'll take someone that was a little bit more proven across multiple playoff runs, even though I'm getting into my backup big territory now, because I need a backup big. I drafted Isaiah Hartenstein as my starting big. I'm going to take Mitchell Robinson.
Okay.
Mitchell Robinson, offensive rebounding, rim protection, lobs from Jalen Brunson, swung the Cavs series in 2022, swung the Sixers series in 2024, sealed the it was kind of underwhelming this year in the playoffs in a way that he hasn't really been before.
Yes.
Amazing in the Celtics series in the year before that.
Correct.
And this year he was up and down and couldn't really stay on the floor because of the foul shooting stuff, Hack and Mitch, but it did get them into the bonus quicker, which was very beneficial for them. And then he sealed it with a massive offensive rebound in game 5 to have his kind of final moment as a Knick. Once again, I'm not depending on him for starters minutes. We have Hartenstein to do starters minutes.
We don't know if a Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein center rotation
can't work.
Yeah.
Can't work.
You know.
Well, honestly, if Mitch doesn't get hurt that year, they probably make further in the playoffs, because that was 2024. They lost in the second round because they just ran out of guys. All of their players just kept getting hurt. Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle was out for the playoffs. Mitchell Robinson. It was really just Hartenstein and Brunson that were kind of went unscathed during that run. And so I do think that is going to give us a very high floor in the regular season, and then in the playoffs, they've both proven that they can be part of championship teams. So I'm going to go with Mitchell Robinson here. One of the best per minute guys in the NBA. A smaller version of the Alex Caruso thing, where because of the injuries, you can't play him a ton of minutes, but they're going to make the most of the 15 to 20 minutes a game that they play, especially in the playoffs. So I will say Mitchell Robinson here.
Quick sidebar. I think I'm going to be seated for each and every Pacers Knicks game next season. I think that's my matchup. I'm most looking forward to watching every That's like I think that's our best like upcoming like rivalry, if it's not already a rivalry, because it's got the history to it. These teams have like met in the playoffs. The Knicks got the championship and the Pacers didn't, but the Pacers are kind of like can kind of be like, you guys just fucking took advantage of Halliburton.
The 1 year we were out.
We were out, you know, like that's gonna be fucking cinema. I'm really excited for it.
We got a lot of matchups to look forward to in the East. It is the first time since the 90s where we've had like multiple real rivalries. And to be fair, most of them involve the Knicks. Like I hate to do the, because I'm not a basketball is better. I don't give a fuck if the Knicks are good. I prefer them for them to be bad. But I do think that them being good again, the Sixers rivalry, the Celtics rivalry, the Pacers rivalry, and now potentially the Heat rivalry with them getting Giannis. There's a lot of interesting matchups with them this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had, like you said, you have all of the traditional rivalries of like teams that are kind of on the same sort of tier, with the Sixers escalating now. They're with the Knicks. We talked about Knicks Pacers. You have other teams that are very similar, the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks.
You say that lovingly because the Bucks are your favorite team this year.
I think they're both going to be real. They're both going to be two teams that I watch a lot of, and I think I'm going to enjoy the Bucks games a lot more. So I saw a post. Watch the Celtics win 62 games and just feel horrible about it the whole time.
By the way, I saw a post that was like, "Don't sleep on the Milwaukee Bucks," and just was like listing off their talent. And I was like, okay, we can't do this for every team. I know that we want to do this for every, but like I see this all the time where I'm like, someone has to be bad.
I mean, they're probably going to be bad. I'm just saying I'm going to be.
They'll be a fun bad.
I was going to say that I think they're going to be fun bad. I will be seated for those. I'm concerned about my beautiful Wizards, which have been a fun bad team, and I think they're just going to. It might be grim.
Well, they were a fun, horrible team. Now they're like a better team, but with potential to have disastrous vibes.
I think if it weren't for AJ, yeah, I mean they are because of AJ, but if it weren't for AJ, I don't think they would be.
Bro, they've had the worst record in the NBA the last 2 years.
Yeah, and I think they might make even less sense now. Anyway,
have they won over 20 games?
No. But it's one thing to be losing when you have like young players, but to be like losing with like Trae Young and Anthony Davis on your team. It's like
they won 15 games, 18 games, and 17 games the last. You cannot be worse than that. Even if the vibes are weird, like they by default are going to win 25 games.
I think it's a less fun year to win 28 to 29 games with Trae Young and Anthony Davis than to like win 15 with like a young team that you can at least talk yourself into. It won't matter what you're saying.
I'm just saying
of AJ. It won't matter because of AJ. Like it's gonna be fun. Like it'll be that will be fine. But like if it weren't for him, it would be grim. Like if they had not jumped up and gotten one of the top 4 guys, it would have been fucking grim this year.
By the way, are you aware of what the original name of before they were the Wizards, the Bullets, or any of that? Are you aware of what their original city and name was?
Baltimore. Were they Baltimore?
So it was not Baltimore, but they became the Baltimore Bullets. Then they became the Washington Bullets eventually. But before that, they were the Chicago Packers.
Oh.
And the Chicago Zephyrs.
Interesting.
Then they became the Baltimore Bullets.
That is not what I thought. I thought I knew Syracuse had a team, so I was going to guess them next.
That was the Sixers.
Oh, okay.
Syracuse Nationals were the Sixers before the Sixers.
Who was that? And then the Rochester team was the Royals, and then they became the Kings eventually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. They went to Kansas City, and then they went to Sacramento, if I remember correctly.
Can you imagine a team called the Kansas City Royals?
I was going to say, I think they were the Kansas City Royals. I mean, they used to do that where they would just have 2 of the same.
We should do that more. Well, they do that with like soccer and like in Europe. They do like the soccer team is just Barcelona, or and then the basketball team is Madrid, Barcelona.
Yeah. Real Madrid. I'm sorry, everyone. All the soccer fans are going to be furious at me for making that mistake.
They should get over it.
But
Puddleford United, by the way, big season.
Puddleford
United, my squad. Puddleford United. They're in the Coca-Cola League 7 over in Europe. So
The Mickey 17.
yeah, they've sacked Sir Oliver Crumpleton.
Oh,
so
fuck.
I
Again?
got rid of yeah. I mean, he was rubbish. He was rubbish.
He was rubbish, mate.
He was rubbish.
Absolutely bollocks.
Yeah, they were all our fans were saying, "Oh, ease and ons, ease and ons." That was what they
They
were.
all said like King Cruel.
Yeah, they did. My friends, the friends I play video games with, they all love soccer, and they'll just talk about soccer for like an hour, and it just annoys me. And I just pretend I'm Puddleford United, and I'll say, well, we had a pretty good. We were in the Europe. We had the UEFA Champions League 7, and we were up against AC Falatio out of Europe, and they were.
I'm glad you've been able to make a funny version of sports ball.
Yeah, it's for their AC Falatio is very different from Inter Falatio. That's a different squad.
All right, this is your last pick, by the way.
Okay.
Do you want me to read off your team before so that we can?
No, I'm just gonna take Clint Capella.
You already took Clint Capella.
I didn't. I took Steven Adams.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot you pivoted.
Yeah, I pivoted.
You
So
bastard. We already talked
yeah.
about Clint Capella, so
we already talked
yeah.
about him.
Yeah. So it's a good backup center that I have, though.
Yeah, it's great.
Backup
Center.
So, all right. I am going to read off all the players that I didn't get a chance to get to.
Okay.
There are players that all right, let me just look at my roster real quick because we have Aaron Gordon, Isaiah Hartenstein, Danny Green, Alex Caruso, CJ McCollum. That's my starting 5.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges and Mitchell Robinson are off my bench right now. So, you know what? This is going to be more of an emotional thing just to stick it to you. Because I think that
you think smart.
Hold on. Let me read off the other players that I'm not taking first.
Yeah.
Players. Okay, Josh Hart.
Yeah.
Serge
Yes.
Ibaka. I can't believe Serge
we
Ibaka's
didn't
name
take
never
Serge.
came up.
I really thought about it.
I think Serge is better if you're trying to build a team that is going to have a switchable big in the playoffs. That is
so bad on offense, though. Like it's just
he became better though. He could shoot threes by the end of his career.
I was gonna say, like, if he was like, if you could like merge athlete like Thunder Surge with like Raptors Surge, he'd be awesome. But like, it was never all there at once. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say I have my last thought of Serge Ibaka as an NBA player is him just going insane against the Sixers in Game 7 in 2019, and then they win the championship after that. So, but he was a bench player on that team. He was the best version of Serge was still early career Thunder Serge when he was athletically just like a monster and defensively a monster. As you, he made all defense first team 3 times, led the NBA in blocks twice, won the championship in 2019.
Dated Kerry Hilson. That should be on his best.
Most importantly,
page. Yep.
Yeah. He made it Pretty Girl Rock.
Yep.
Yeah.
The shots, he was not knocking them down. Was that Kerry Hilson? That was Kerry Hilson, right?
I honestly can't remember.
Kerry, the one with Neo and Kanye on the features. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about because that album having Kanye on it was the thing that I think people started to like. That was her first album, if I remember correctly.
It was 2000. It was the summer of 2009. That went triple platinum in our thing.
Yes.
That was that and "Throw It in the Bag" by Fabulous, "Birthday Sex" by Jeremiah. It was a
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah. Is that how is you say it, Jeremiah?
I think it's Jeremiah. Yeah.
There's no A.
I like some of his songs. His other non-birthday sex songs too. Yeah.
What's the
he
one?
had some bangers.
Dun, 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 dun. Don't Tell Him. Yeah, that's a classic Jeremiah song.
Don't tell him.
Don't tell him.
Don't tell him. Yeah, no, he had some bangers during that era. This is
got me feeling like this. Oh.
This is there was a very like college core pop hit era. I mean, the number one song that I've talked about before on the podcast that still gets played apparently at parties is the most uniting rap song of all time, which is No Hands by Roscoe Dash, Waka Flocka Flames, and Wale.
I genuinely don't think I know that song. Let me.
You know that song.
Let me. I'm gonna mute myself.
Got me in a
trance.
trance.
Okay, I do that.
That is like the staple. When I think of songs when I went to parties at Penn State, that, by the way, I hated 90% of music that they played at parties. That came on. Love that one. Party in the USA by Miley. I like that one. Another and then
I'm on a boat.
See, they didn't play I'm on a boat quite as much at parties.
Okay, that got played minimum 5 times at parties. I might have just gone to a more annoying school. Yeah.
No, we certainly had annoying, unserious songs like "I Love College" and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we the other song, "I Don't Care," which we've talked about before. Also, the one song that is somehow not a song from when we were in college, but spiritually feels like it, is "No Place I'd Rather Be." I don't know how that didn't come out when we were in college, because that feels like, the song I'm talking about, right? Like that feels like a 2011 song to me. That's like a 2014, 2015 song.
There's so many that honestly, I don't know if I'm just like retroactively. There was a lot of great ones, like Cyclone. My freshman year, "Cyclone" by Baby Bash was.
See, I hated that song.
Yeah, those of you who
I'm the only millennial that doesn't like T-Pain. I never got it. Like, to me, like, it is just like generic radio pop stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
What? No. Finish.
Fall in love with the stripper.
I was gonna say that, but I was gonna say, what about E40? What about some of the?
I love E40. Yeah, we've talked about this before. Yeah.
So how did you feel about
Jesus Christ, that dread show chick
moving, trying to get to you in that booty?
I like that one. That one was good. Yeah, there were.
I'm Evo. Oh, recognize game when I walked in the door.
Well, E40. You want to talk about underrated longevity? E40 is, I mean, the most underrated longevity in the history of music, arguably, and popular rap music specifically. Too Short had "Blow the Whistle" and "I'm Bossy" with Khalees in the mid 2000s. Into like, that was popular up through like the era that I was going to school, I would say. And his first album came out in 1985.
That's crazy. That is so crazy.
If you listen to early Too Short, it sounds like the beginning of hip hop. Like, it is
Sugar Hill Gang. It was
like 5 years after that. Like, it was not that long. After, like, it sounds closer to like Run DMC and Schoolie D and all the stuff that was coming out like early to mid 80s, but it's not like, it sounds like ancient hip hop. He was selling mixtapes out of the trunk of his car in the 80s. That's how he got popular in Oakland. And that's
I've got kind of a little bit of, despite like having like the whitest music take of all time. I had one of my friends in college was from the Bay Area, and like gave me gave me a hyphy like history lesson. So like was it Mac Dre? Like
Mac Dre from the Bay,
Thizzle Dance was frequently thrown on.
I think we had this conversation before, but you never listened to Lil B though, and Lil B was part of the pack. Yes. So okay, so part of the Bay Area stuff. The Bay Area always had popular music, but it was like weird. like it was never sounded like what was mainstream. E40 is the perfect example of it. Was like, yo, Pascal Siakam. I always think that tweet when it's whatever, but. The Pack was like a underground group from this time period, and they got big on the internet. And I remember listening to them during this era because they had got my Vans on, but they look like sneakers. Got my Vans on, so they end up. Lil B ends up making his own solo music from there, and Lil B. We played Now this was never played at parties. To be clear, this was like irony poisoned people who didn't know they were irony poisoned yet. Playing Lil B music in 2010, 2011, which he had a whole album called the Red Flame mixtape where every song was like, I'm Miley Cyrus, I'm Bill Clinton, and none of his raps, he didn't write his raps. So he would just go into the studio and be like, I'm Miley Cyrus, driving no license. And it was ironically good. Yeah. And he has I will send you some of my, I'm Ellen DeGeneres is another one. Like, he has songs from that era. Wonton Soup is probably the most popular. Yeah. But he, before the Kevin Durant beef stuff back in like 2010, 2011, we used to play Lil B to death with those songs. Like they were
I
just like
only
the
know him as
funniest
the
fucking thing.
poster. I only know him as like a famous poster. Like,
Okay, I will send you some songs from that era. They're very funny. But just real quickly, my last take on Bay Area music. I am like fully convinced that Kreayshawn would have been one of the biggest rappers in the world if she came out 5 years later, because she released Gucci Gucci in 2011. Do you remember Gucci Gucci?
I don't think so. No.
So it was a more niche, like internet song, but she was a white girl basically doing the Catch Me Outside girl stuff.
Okay.
But she was
Bad
from
Bunny?
the Bay. She was doing that stuff, but in 2011, and everyone was like, you suck. But she had like a cult following online and was from the Bay, was friends with Lil B in the Pack, and they would make music together. She was a producer and a rapper. And if you listen to Gucci Gucci, it is like 5 to 10 years ahead of its time in terms of sound. And no one,
I
just remember it.
I just listened to it, and I do kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
remember it.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that's my last take on Bay Area rap, is that if she would have been a multi-millionaire if she had waited until 2016 to release that music. Unfortunately, she was too far ahead of her time, and everyone thought she was a lame, and no one really took her seriously.
Tell me what to go. Tell me what to go.
That's an all-time song.
That's an
I
all-time.
played that for Lauren for the first time recently, and she was like, "What the hell is this song?"
Ooh, that's like a vocal stem I still do, is the E40. Ooh. Like, it's so good.
He had some of the most quotables of any rapper in history. But anyway, I don't know how we got on this conversation.
He's also got that deep voice like Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5 that I
Mhm. Yeah,
I
that's
love
your-
the deep
those are your
voice.
guys.
Yeah.
So.
Mhm.
All right, so speaking of Bay Area, Kayvon Looney, Andrew Bogut, both not brought up in this conversation.
I had Anderson Varejao was kind of my I didn't think those guys were as good as Anderson Varejao was my but he might have been an All-Star game. I don't know if I checked that actually. I think he might have
Kayvon Looney, I mean, the offensive rebounding and the defense, I would say Mitchell Robinson-esque during those runs for the Warriors. Bogut screen setting and defense was just insane. By the way, Tony Allen was not brought up during this conversation. I'm surprised you didn't bring him up during this conversation. I know the offense was bad, but the defense was so good.
Yeah, I didn't. The offense was just too big. Like I remember them like losing series because they just didn't guard him. You know, like I think that does kind of disqualify you from this exercise. Did you say PJ Tucker?
I had him next on my list. I also had Boris Diaw on my list.
I had Boris Diaw. I'm glad you brought him up. I wanted to draft him at some point, but yeah.
Once again, this is more in the CJ McCollum, Jason Terry category. If I don't know if he counts, he's probably better than both of them. So I don't know if you can count Desmond Bane, but I do think that he needs to be mentioned in this conversation. Patrick Beverly should be mentioned in this conversation. Yep. George Hill should be mentioned in this conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. Robert Covington, at least for the regular season.
Yeah.
Shane Battier, although he's kind of on the borderline. Yeah.
No, I had him on my list. I had him and Duncan Robinson were the two left on mine besides Jay Crowder that we didn't bring.
I have Duncan Robinson on my list.
Yeah.
I have Joe Ingles on my list.
Oh.
I have Trevor Ariza on my list.
That's a good one.
I have Eric Gordon, TJ McConnell, and last but not,
he never made an All-Star game. That's
Eric
shocking.
Gordon.
He never did. That's crazy. Wow.
He's another guy that was like fringe all-star, but his team was never quite good enough when he put up the volume stats. And then the years that he was on really good teams, he was a 6th man of the year for the Rockets. So once again, insane driver, really good shooter, secondary creator, and good switch defender. Like that was kind of the whole pitch on Eric Gordon before he was watched. And honestly, earlier in his career, when he got traded for Chris Paul, that seemed like, yeah, sure, he's going to be a star. So it makes sense to do that. And then the injuries and just kind of not really fully developing made it so he wasn't. So a bit of a Desmond Bane before Desmond Bane, in a way. So, all right, I'm just going to take Marcus Smart here because it is the funniest possible thing to take him.
Yeah.
So
he wasn't good enough for my
you're gonna get slander in the Discord, dude.
No, that's my guy. I just don't think I think it's kind of hard to I just think it's hard with like he's most valuable kind of like as a 4. You like on teams that don't have like a good 4. Which is why
Well, I don't really. Right now we really only have Aaron Gordon. Most of my guys are. Here's my team. Ready?
Mhm.
Aaron Gordon, Isaiah Hartenstein, Danny Green, Alex Caruso, CJ McCollum, Mikal Bridges, Mitchell Robinson, and Marcus Smart.
I was beating your ass until the CJ and Mikal picks, and then you kind of killed me there, right, with those two.
All right, so your team is OG Batum, Steven Adams, Derek White, Jason Terry, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Aaron Nesmith, and Clint Capella. I think this is pretty even, though. I mean, I would say that this is like, I think normally when I come out of this, I feel pretty good, but I feel like your team's also very good.
My team's like fine, but I just think your team's just got more talent, especially offensively, and I think that's what matters in this one.
Swung it. I was gonna say we're not gonna be scoring a ton of points.
No.
So all right. Real quick, someone asked in the comments, have I seen the massive cocaine trafficking ring at Penn State that just got busted? Yes, I had a viral tweet because the guy looks just like Ben Solak, and I said, is he still gonna be able to go on Mina Kimes' podcast this season? And she saw it and Ben saw it. So just cheating a little bit. I knew they were going to see it, but
Nina, you don't have to follow me back, but follow Trill back. Like, come on.
Yeah, come on the pod. I was going to say we'll do an NFL preview with Ben and Mina on the podcast.
Ben live from prison. I'll go with my laptop and sit. I'll turn it around. He'll be behind the glass and I'll be right here.
He's moving the only thing whiter than his best QBs list.
Did you see Bill kind of going a bit? It was so funny to see Bill like antagonizing Mina for being like rude to Drake May when she was like leading the Drake May like thing last year. Like Bill just completely got his enemies like mixed up. Like it was.
Well, it's also funny because Bill kept pounding the table for Drake May even after he shit the bed in the AFC Championship game, but you guys won, so it didn't matter quite as much. And then the Super Bowl happened, and he had to walk back some stuff.
Yeah. No, it's.
I mean, look, making the Super Bowl in your second year is still quite an accomplishment.
Hey, let me put it this way: I'm not getting really involved in my Patriots futures this year. I think it's going to be a rough season. Let me just say I won't be drafting AJ Brown in my fantasy league, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, I think AJ will have a good season. I don't know if he'll be good for fantasy.
Yeah,
he really was only good for fantasy for the Eagles for 2 years, where he was just like a fucking beast his first 2 years.
He won me the league one of those years.
But I mean, he's older now, and he's never really depended on speed and athleticism like some of these other guys. But some of those like lack of creating separation guys are like the cliff comes pretty quick for them. But I would be pretty surprised if he didn't have a good season for you guys. Quick question. Do you want to do, people asked us to do NFL preview stuff at some point, and I was just like, I don't know enough this year.
I feel like yeah, if you guys are all right with us just being stupid, like
can we do vibes? Do you want us to do a vibes episode where we're just like,
let's try to get records based on vibes.
We'll do that. We'll do that later in this month.
The idiots NFL preview.
I don't know. Someone told me the Cowboys are going to be good this year, so I'll just like I'll be like, they're going to win 13 games in the regular season and lose in the first round of the playoffs.
I like the idea of doing that because I think we could be. I want to point out last year, or was it 2 years ago? I posted my quarterback list and got a ton of shit for it. And
you want to revisit?
I did a lot better.
No, it was last year.
Football, yeah.
Because you had Darnold really high, and then he had this great season. And they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, everyone was giving me shit for Darnold. They were giving me shit. I had Drake May pretty high. Everyone was giving me shit for it. I had Mahomes pretty low. So sorry, losers. I guess I know ball.
You definitely had Justin Herbert low, and I remember everyone giving you shit, and CJ Stroud, and they both completely shit the bed in the playoffs. It is kind of like, once again, it is very funny that. Because watching just from a distance, being like an outsider on NFL Twitter and watching people be like, no one ever gives Justin Herbert shit. And I'm like, he's kind of the laughing stock of like the social media.
Not in my world. Not in the world.
I was going to say, my FYP, he gets shit on a lot. But also, it is very funny. Well, it is very funny because it's just like at a certain point, you have to have a single good playoff game and win a playoff game. I don't care about your context. Like, people are not going to give you that many passes if you're going to get. I mean, look, Justin Herbert's does not need any advice from me on how to live his life.
Yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say,
let's be clear.
some enterprising person in the Discord, pull up what Dredd was saying about me when I had CJ Stroud low and had Sam Darnold high. Like, somebody go. Let's go to the tape on that one.
Did you see that video of him pulling up to the training camp with the backpack?
No,
CJ Stroud.
Oh no,
CJ Stroud. So they were talking about it on Bill's podcast because that was blowing up, that clip. And he was like, man, like everyone is just shitting on CJ Stroud right now. And it's this video where he's just walking up and they said he looks like he's like a middle schooler.
Oh, that is
walking
that is very. Oh my god.
The next clip on the thing.
No, okay, all right. You gotta leave that in there.
The Twitter, I'm absolutely leaving that in. The Twitter algorithm literally just like ass shaking woman on the next clip. It was 100% one of those videos where it's like the white room.
Yes.
And it's like the popping balloons, and then they're just saying like the most misogynistic things of all time.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah. Oh my god, I hate those. The one that
Twitter's a great app.
I don't know if this was real, but it looked real to me. I did see that like Madison Beer was just like chilling at like Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was saying. I was like, he
Yeah.
doesn't need any advice from me.
That's what I'm saying. Like, like first of all, respect. That's by far the thing I respect the most about Justin Herbert. So
Absolutely. Anyone who's giving him shit for that doesn't understand how good his life is.
Yeah, sorry. You
He could pull an Andrew Luck tomorrow and no one should give him shit.
People did that with Justin Verlander with like Kate Upton. Do you remember that? Like,
yeah. That's baseball. Baseball and football are just very different.
Yeah, I mean they are kind of good. I think I want to do our football thing because I think football people talking about with like knowledge about football is like so funny because like there's just not a big enough sample size like to
we talk about this all the time where it's like the concept of a playoff riser in football is funny because it's like 7 games in someone's career.
It like doesn't and it just like doesn't matter. Like teams can win like 6 games out of the gate and like kind of be ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's such a funny like sport. So yeah, let's do it. Fuck it. Let's do it at some point this offseason.
Let's get it.
Yep.
All right. We will be back later in the week for the Patreon episode. Thank you for sticking with us for 2 hours and 15 minutes in the middle of August. We we appreciate you and your service. And I'm not talking about Steve Ballmer. I don't give a fuck about that story anymore. Yeah. We'll talk about it when the fucking news comes down. Like, goddamn.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous. Yeah. Peace.